Juqing. Su Xing was taken aback. He was astonished to recognize that the green-haired woman was exactly the girl previously pining for the bamboo clarity stone. Compared to just then, the current Juqing carried a sort of exceptional majesty. Her forehead had a star crest, and there was also a green dragon beside her appearing from time to time in the blue light. The expansive Blackwater City Island seemed to disappear under her imposing aura. The man beside Juqing had a face as elegant as jade. He was attractive, and his expression appeared to carry a bit of indifference. That Kshetra of heaven, boundless sword array was his work. Each stalk in the sea of endless bamboo forest displayed a flying sword's true spirit. They continuously spun, emitting a sharp aura. Su Xing saw that his cultivation had surprisingly reached supervoid middle stage. Don't tell me. Su Xing flipped out the birth treasure outline without any hesitation. As he thought, the birth treasure outline showed a reaction. The pages fluttered, and golden characters manifested. Star position, Leisure Star name, Gong Sun Xing nickname, Dragon in the Clouds true name, Gong Sun Juqing rank, 4th star weapon, Pinebrand ancient sword, 4-star, Star Beast, Azure Cloud Dragon realm, True Phoenix 2nd stage innate skill, Wandering the Clear Skies 5 elements, Wood Yellow rank special technique, Cloud Traveling Azure Dragon turn dark rank special technique, Half Destroyed Landscape Earth rank special technique, Sun Moon and Stars, 2, Heaven rank special technique. Candle Dragon Extinguishing, 3, current status, Trace of True Spirit, cannot be conquered, detailed materials. Heaven rank technique. Su Xing's heart shuddered. Compared to the identity of Juqing as second overlord dragon in the clouds Gong Sun Xing, seeing the heaven rank special move on the birth treasure outline was much more alarming to Su Xing. A star general's heaven rank was their strongest technique, famous in Liangshan continent, making people turn uneasy. Legends said that this heaven rank special move was placed above transforming Star of Annihilation, and even peak supervoid cultivators would be somewhat pressed to manage something against one. The first to comprehend a heaven rank in the star duels often could secure a position in the 7 stars assembly. However, heaven ranks were extremely difficult to comprehend. Other than relying on the heaven book, star generals that wanted to comprehend a heaven rank on their own required first-rate talent. The fact that even First Overlord Jade Qilin Luyuyu was unable to comprehend her heaven rank demonstrated the difficulty. Seeing the heaven rank, Wu Xiyo and Gong Sun Huang stretched their bodies taut, not daring to be careless. Su Xing was already considering first fleeing back to his immortal's abode. He had already decided to do this upon encountering the second overlord. Anyways, however, for the second overlord to appear right after the first overlord ended, time truly left him somewhat unprepared. Su Xing had originally thought this would occur more or less at the treasure banquet. Never expected that I would unexpectedly walk right into a previous overlord. I ought to be mocked right now. Su Xing chuckled. I am not mocking you. Dragon in the Clouds Gong Sun Juqing calmly said, I am very thankful for your bamboo clarity stone. Su Xing smiled. To be able to receive the second overlord's gratitude, it seems this was worth it. He took a deep breath, and his mind was already thinking rapidly. If the second overlord was Dragon in the Clouds, powerful star magic would take away their advantage in numbers. The sole possibility was to keep close to Gong Sun Juqing as much as possible and then catch her off guard. Although magic energy-type star generals were powerful, their close combat was their weakness. However, upon seeing the extraordinary sword array of the Star Master beside Gong Sun Juqing, displaying considerably brilliant sword arts, perhaps he would be somewhat thorny. Your servant is Yuan Xingliang, Gong Sun Juqing's Star Master. Yuan Xingliang introduced himself. The surrounding bamboo sea changed into the forms of several thousand flying swords. His hand pointed, and a jadeite bamboo sword was gripped in his fingers. You must be the target of the trial then. Your servant is Su Xing. Do you dare to receive the trial your servant has set for you? Yuan Xingliang calmly said. What trial? Su Xing wrinkled his brow. I have already discussed this with Juqing. We do not wish to take advantage of your difficulties at all. You have 2 choices. First choice is to kill us. Yuan Xingliang's first choice was obvious to Su Xing. The second choice? The second choice, you and I will duel. If you can defeat your servant, the next part is to have your star general set out. If she can withstand Zhu Qing's 3 moves, earth, dark and yellow, then you will be considered as having passed this trial. Yuan Xingliang's conduct was righteous. He knew that the current phase of the star duels was the time to comprehend earth ranks. If Gongsun Zhu Qing used her heaven rank, perhaps none of them could make a lucky escape. Su Xing did not reply. Rather, he looked to Wu Xiao and Gongsun Huang. Is your word any good? Wu Xiao coldly said. A gentleman does not go back on his word. Then the second. Since they could avoid facing Gongsun Xing's heaven rank, Su Xing naturally would not foolishly put his life on the line. Yuan Xingliang actually was not surprised. He walked on the air, his expression calmly staring at Su Xing. Lord husband, be careful. Wu Xiao exhorted. Gongsun Huang left Su Xing's shoulder, her eyes full of concern. Relax. Su Xing smiled. Even if his martial arts could face some earthly star martial generals, this naturally became a card up his sleeve against a star master. He gently leapt, similarly using wandering the clear skies, and stood face to face in midair with Yuan Xingliang. You only have 2 star generals? Yuan Xingliang was bewildered. They are still resting. There's no need to disturb them. Su Xing faintly smiled. Yuan Xingliang seemed to smile. Oh, you actually are considerate of them. But I wonder if you have the ability to be considerate, or if that is merely nothing more than words. His flying swords revolved, and a green rainbow appeared. Try and find out. Su Xing's eyebrows rose. Then witness your servant's etc. of heaven, borderless sword array. Yuan Xingliang's hand pointed. The serene bamboo forest surged in a split second. Countless green bamboo shoots shot up, surrounding Su Xing. 100 flying swords transformed constantly, indecipherable. Sword arrays, the strongest ability of flying swords. From just the instant slaughter of 100 cultivators and the supercluster ancestor, the might of this borderless sword array could be seen. With super void middle stage cultivation, his execution would naturally be extraordinary. It was a pity that Su Xing had only 3 of the immemorial sword chants, but the most fundamental of the 5 elements had yet to take form, and neither could he use any powerful sword array with them. Seeing sword lights suddenly burst all around him, any person with even a slightly weaker sense of awareness perhaps would disintegrate here without doubt. Su Xing's hand seals formed. Heavenly abyss spun, and countless sword lights rushed against heavenly abyss, exploding. Su Xing felt a heavy pressure hit him in the face. However, he would not sit and wait for death. He resisted the sword array's destruction. His hands once again formed a hand seal, and the metal element heaven-tearing swords drew a golden dragon that broke through the bamboo forest's encirclement. Yuan Xingliang's eyes flashed with a sharp light. The borderless sword array showed a sea of bamboo and 10,000 arrows, continuous and endless. The golden dragon was pierced through mercilessly. It was instantly trapped, unable to move. What a formidable sword array! Su Xing took a deep breath. Suddenly, he spotted his opportunity and struck with his right hand. Purple Fiend attacked. The bamboo forest was cut down by Purple Fiend. The attack shot straight towards Yuan Xingliang. The boundless sword array's sword light magnified, and layers of bamboo forest rushed forth to barely block. This purple star transforming chi ability was extremely thorny to begin with, and now that Su Xing had practiced it to the Purple Fiend level, even a sword array could barely trap it. The sea of bamboo was cut down into a complete mess by Purple Fiend. Yuan Xingliang's expression changed. The blue splendid 8 treasure sword, in his hand once an immemorial divine weapon that had been passed down to him by a sword saint. The blue splendid 8 treasure sword danced, and 7 blue lotus flower flames contorted, flickering. They were about the size of a pot, like 7 blue lotus flowers. They spread into an array, simultaneously emitting large pillars of fire that shot upwards. They split into thousands of different paths, just like fireworks. They appeared up and down at the same time and pounced. The entire bamboo forest sky was suddenly resplendent. This fire was known as Green Lotus Karma Fire Sword Array. 5. The the second treasure of this blue splendid 8 treasure sword. Su Xing knew from just a look that this ability was formidable. He thought to himself that this was worthy of the star master of the Gongsun Sheng, who was #1 in magic energy. Its power really was incredible, otherwise they could not have possibly become overlord. However, Su Xing naturally was not afraid. He merely sneered, flipped his wrist and showed a green jade. Then, a humming whistle resounded. Countless green demon beasts flew out. These were the essence-swallowing dragons that Suwen had raised. Su Xing naturally came prepared this time. After he realized that the second overlord could be Gongsun Sheng, the essence-swallowing dragons were temporarily lent to Su Xing. By relying on the essence-swallowing dragon's ability to devour the world's supernatural fires and spiritual power, the flames before him were no problem. The green light on the essence-swallowing dragons glowed bright, protecting their whole bodies. They were not afraid of the green lotus karma fire's burns in the slightest. They ferociously charged into the karma fire sword array. Su Xing and Suwen had their star nest contract, linking them together. Controlling the essence-swallowing dragons was not out of his reach, but suddenly he felt his whole body stiffen at this moment, as if a net had bound him. He circulated his magic energy, which was somewhat clogged. He was inwardly shocked. Yuan Xingliang had already shook that blue splendid 8 treasure sword again. A green rainbow flowed from the sword tip, becoming thousands of threads, forming a large net that wrapped up the essence-swallowing dragons. This blue splendid 8 treasure sword has gathered and refined spirit materials from Maiden Mountain that Liangshan does not have. It is anything but a treasure of Liangshan. The green rainbow net wrapped up heaven and earth, completely capturing Su Xing's flying swords and the essence-swallowing dragons. Su Xing pointed his finger, and he exerted all of his star energy. Purple Fiend shot out with several bangs, not holding back at all, ripping apart that net that was flying over. With an earth-shattering buzz, it directly surged towards Yuan Xingliang. That fire net covering the world seemed to scatter into sparks, shooting 10,000 zhang away, fading away into the air at the end. The originally luminous world suddenly dimmed. The green lotus karma fire sword array had met with the essence-swallowing dragon's nibbling. The flames immediately depressed. "You have some tricks." Yuan Xingliang saw that his own blue splendid 8 treasure sword was unable to seize the advantage, and he was inwardly shocked. This man's abilities and tricks were honestly strange. Not saying anything more, he also circulated his star energy at the same time. His sleeves fluttered, and the blue splendid 8 treasure sword broke out of his hand, flying high above him and hung there. The fourth ability of the blue splendid 8 treasure sword was a serene chi that protected Yuan Xingliang's whole body. Light concentrated and did not disperse. Su Xing knew that his own advantage was in close range. If the light destroyed his powers, he clearly had no chance of winning against a super void middle stage. Relying on the essence-swallowing dragon's ferocity, he prepared to approach in one go. But upon seeing Yuan Xingliang raise the blue splendid 8 treasure sword in his hand, Su Xing immediately sensed danger and directed the essence-swallowing dragons to rotate. He ordered them to prepare for recall back into their astral stone. At the same time, his hand flung, and an earth book of yellow dust flew out. Empress Tu manifested her true body, her peerless magnificence and graceful complexion from the earth book. Empress Tu waved her sleeves, turning into a glaring yellow light flow that rushed in among the essence-swallowing dragons. The earth book that had undergone care had now mostly recovered. Empress Tu had even cultivated external projection before and already had intelligence. She was just one final step away and no longer needed divine intent control. Empress Tu directly flipped over yellow dust and earthly chi. In an instant she had wrapped the essence-swallowing dragons. Then, Su Xing consecutively formed hand seals. After several loud wails, the slender essence-swallowing dragons were dyed with yellow dust. The earth book's powerful defenses protected the essence-swallowing dragons as they wildly flooded out. The green hurricane seemed to transform into a giant, fluttering sandstorm. Terrifying shrieks reverberated like continuous thunder. The dragons were crowded tail to head, inseparably piled together. They flew higher and higher, and from afar, they seemed to be one of the 5 sacred mountains. Thunderclaps burst, rolling down, directly clawing towards the blue splendid 8 treasure sword above Yuan Xingliang's head. At the same time, Su Xing used the innate Bagua escape. The blue splendid 8 treasure sword withstood along with Yuan Xingliang's incantation. The entire bamboo forest space suddenly changed. The blue splendid 8 treasure sword split off 10,000 rays of thin light rays. Yuan Xingliang pointed the sword, and Su Xing immediately sensed a powerful pressure push down all at once. The earthly qi protecting the essence swallowing dragons was firmly pinned, immobilizing them. Yuan Xingliang was far from finished. A green light on the sword shot out, unstoppable. The flying swords hovering around him moved at the same time, washing past the earth book like a flood. The super void middle stage cultivator's star energy was frighteningly powerful. Even the strong earthly qi had been slightly chipped. Scar of Earth, 1 muddying clear stream sword array. 6. Yuan Xingliang fiercely shouted. In a split second, space itself rebelled. The scene of the bamboo forest vanished. Then, endless green light pounced over. Su Xing only felt his head hurt, and his divine intent was nearly destroyed. His heart was shocked. He had contracted a dozen star generals, had an extremely powerful divine intent, yet it unexpectedly was nearly defeated in an instant. This sword array really was terrifying. Su Xing's expression changed. He was forced to use his escape technique. Empress too flew into the clear stream to protect the essence swallowing dragons. Su Xing at this moment also put his palms together, creating a sudden change. A giant golden lotus the size of 1,000 qi unfolded behind Su Xing. A golden lotus blossomed in the endless clear stream world, and Su Xing's whole body showed a golden color. This was the Akala Wisdom King chant. The golden lotus released millions of rays of light and faced off against the rushing clear stream. Yuan Xingliang's heart that had just calmed was once again jolted. The strength of the supercluster stage cultivator before him was honestly ridiculous. Each and every one of these abilities were outrageous, insufferably arrogant. If it was not for Su Xing being merely supercluster, if Su Xing had reached super void, then Yuan Xingliang did not have the confidence to withstand him. Yuan Xingliang sensed powerful pressure. He no longer dared to slight Su Xing and continuously urged on the sword array. Golden light blossomed on one side, and a clear stream flowed on the other. Each was entangled, seeking dominance over the other. Lord Husband. Wu Xiao's knuckles were clenched white. She was very scared and on edge, gripping Noble Frost Demonic Lotus, ready to take action at any second. When she looked again to Gongsun Zhuqing, that star general was very calm, as if she did not mind at all what was happening inside. She merely stared blankly at the bamboo clarity stone in her hand, lost in thought. At this time, Gongsun Huang straddled the D-New Heavenly Phoenix and flew in front of her. D-New Heavenly Phoenix? Gongsun Zhuqing showed astonishment when she saw the star beast. Little Huang cannot allow His Highness to be the only one fighting. Gongsun Huang raised her pine-brand ancient sword. She gently waved it, and without another word, she used cloud-traveling azure dragon turn. Space was suddenly broken by star magic, and white clouds turned into a dragon. Gongsun Zhuqing softly grunted. She simultaneously used her own cloud-traveling azure dragon turn. The yellow rank star magic that true Phoenix Realm Gongsun Zhuqing used naturally was far stronger than Gongsun Huang's. Each of their star magics clashed for no more than the blink of an eye. Little Huang's star magic was completely destroyed, and the remaining white dragon flew over. The D-New Heavenly Phoenix flapped its wings. Beautiful flames danced and broke the leftover star magic. Gongsun Zhuqing's azure cloud dragon also roared and scuttled over. Phoenix and dragon struggled against one another. Gongsun Zhuqing's pine-brand ancient sword danced, using wind rolls away life. Gongsun Huang also used a wind rolls the clouds. Since you agree to the trial, I will not be lenient. This is what Zhuqing has promised Xingliang. Gongsun Zhuqing said. Her star crest suddenly glowed. Wind rolls away life shredded little Huang's wind rolls the clouds. An enormous green gale cut towards her like a sharp blade. Her phoenix perching red clouds clothes released red light that obstructed the wind rolls away life. Gong Sun Zhuqing indifferently moved her divine intent, and another star magic trapped little Huang. Just as she was about to attain success in one stroke, at this moment, a sword tip met her. Bang! Gong Sun Zhuqing's reactions were extremely quick, and she erected a barrier to stop this attack. The cool and elegant Wu Xiao inwardly grit her teeth. There is also your servant accompanying you. Then attack together. Gong Sun Zhuqing calmly said. She fired a ray of star magic, and 2 swords blocked it. Just as Gong Sun Zhuqing was about to continue her attack, the mountains suddenly rocked, and the world split apart. The entire space rumbled with a quaking motion. Space seemed to crumble. Gong Sun Zhuqing looked. Gong Sun Huang had already used her dark technique. Half-destroyed landscape. Space squeezed powerfully, the force crushing towards her. Gong Sun Zhuqing had no choice but to defend with full power, but Gong Sun Huang's plan was not her. There was a crumbling sound that Gong Sun Huang turned her line of sight to look at. Yuan Xingliang's sword array immediately broke. Truly smart. Gong Sun Zhuqing faintly smiled. Although she said that she could not take action for Su Xing, the wide area destruction of half-destroyed landscape could not be considered help. However, this was somewhat cheating. Gong Sun Zhuqing could not help but show slight praise for the little girl in front of her. Su Xing's meditative mind lotus flower broke, and at the same time, the already ebbing one muddying clear stream sword array suffered the effects of half-destroyed landscape, ending at the same time. Su Xing spat a large amount of blood. The strength of a super void cultivator was formidable, as expected. He nearly was about to be crushed to pieces. That earthly chi was thin as a cicada's wing, as if it would break at the slightest touch. Several hundred essence-swallowing dragons had been completely blasted to pieces, nothing more than ash, slain by the sword array. A good trick, relying on supercluster middle stage to surprisingly be able to withstand your servant's attack. No wonder Maiden Mountain would issue you a trial. Su Xing had squandered much of his star energy to resist as much as possible, and this Yuan Xingliang was extremely ruthless. He used a sword array to try and kill the essence-swallowing dragons while trapping Su Xing had suffered failure. Yuan Xingliang had originally thought that the blue splendid 8 treasure swords 3 great sword arrays used at full power could be able to defeat Su Xing. How could he have known that Su Xing's powers would be so mysterious and varied? Even if that was not half-destroyed landscape just now, Yuan Xingliang could guess that this guy definitely still had tricks up his sleeve. Considering this, Su Xing already could not muster up any more qi. In a spurt of energy, he flew to Yuan Xingliang's side. The 12 heaven-tearing swords combined pairs into one, breaking the green light protecting his body. Then the Bagua mirror shined. Yuan Xingliang completely did not expect Su Xing to still have strength. Just as Yuan Xingliang was about to raise the blue splendid 8 treasure sword to block. How could he have foreseen that Su Xing would unexpectedly turn out a prehistoric spirit treasure? Because this Bagua mirror had suffered prior damage, its might was not as great as it was before, but it was still fierce. The Bagua mirror shone and froze Yuan Xingliang. Su Xing rushed forth. Without saying another word, his fingers snapped together. First, he struck with Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder. Yuan Xingliang saw this attack was formidable, yet he was too late to put up a defense, too late to dodge, and was covered by the Bagua. Then, the Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder numbed his whole body. As if it was ripping him apart, the attack exploded upon him. Fortunately, this blue splendid 8 treasure sword and Yuan Xingliang were linked from being life-cast. His final treasure was activated. Blue light surged, and its rays filled the sky. It rolled and contracted, sweeping aside the Purple Mansion Immortal Thunder. Then he waved the sword and knocked Su Xing aside. Slowly, Yuan Xingliang showed an excited smile. In the second generation of star duels, Yuan Xingliang could say he was the absolute genius of that era. The blue splendid 8 treasure flying sword was practically unsurpassed in those star duels. From the very beginning, he left everyone in his dust, and he did not know how many plots his powerful teamwork with Gong Sun Zhuqing had crushed. To be able to fight this well, I am also satisfied. Yuan Xingliang chuckled. If you have any other tricks, don't hesitate to them. Su Xing lowered his breathing, somewhat exhausted. Out of the corner of his eye, he sensed that Gong Sun Huang and Wu Xiao were already engaging Gong Sun Zhuqin. His heart only wanted to quickly settle this battle with Yuan Xingliang. However, this star master truly was difficult to deal with. This was the first time that Su Xing had used all of his techniques, but could only barely fight evenly with the opponent. The 5 dragons lantern and the 4 symbols seal were kept tucked away, ready to fight at any moment. However, these prehistoric spirit treasures could not be used unless as a last resort. Upon use, all of his energy would be sucked dry. Similarly, this would exhaust Gong Sun Huang as well. Last trick. Yuan Xingliang's hand gripped the blue splendid 8 treasure sword. Since you are the star master of the star general that is number 1 in magic energy, then the most fundamental close combat prowess is absolutely necessary. As he expected, the Yuan Xingliang in front of him was also an expert sword cultivator. Just what I was looking for. Su Xing shouted. His silhouette dissipated, and a number of afterimages appeared. A star general's 10,000 techniques realm? Yuan Xingliang was taken aback. He coldly grinned. The pleasant surprises truly never end. Clang clang. Sparks burst forth in the air. A ray of sword light instantly unraveled. While the air was still frozen, it was ripped apart by a sword net of golden light. Bearing Su Xing's full power slash, he acted naturally without any mercy, leaving no openings. So fast. A dragon screeched, and the concentrated air was torn apart by the flurry of lights, letting out a vague scream. The sword tip that was just almost within reach was just like a bloodthirsty fang. Yuan Xingliang blocked it in amazement, nearly missing altogether. He looked at Su Xing in astonishment, then, in Yuan Xingliang's eyes, Su Xing's gaze was nevertheless tranquil as water, as if everything was inevitable. That pure expression was just like a frail, yet sharp, razor blade, slicing his soul bit by bit. Yuan Xingliang honestly did not expect that Su Xing's martial arts would be far more superb than he had imagined. This made him recall a star general he had once fought. As the star master of Jiangsun Zhuqin, Yuan Xingliang naturally had battled often against star generals, from top-notch martial generals to earthly star martial generals. Yuan Xingliang had experience with them all. Without mention of victory or defeat, just that battle experience absolutely could not be compared to an ordinary person. Fortunately, it was an experience of that sort. Yuan Xingliang was deeply aware of the abnormality of these star general battles. He could not be even a bit careless. Perhaps he was deficient this time, Yuan Xingliang thought to himself. He promptly waved his hand to block. The blue splendid 8 treasure sword was raised in front of his chest without any wasted movements. The next instant, the time between the two of them seemed to disintegrate. Sword chi shot out from one another. Yuan Xingliang nodded, bearing slight fear. Truly superb martial arts. No wonder you can make Wu Song follow you. Your servant's first wife is but Lin Chong. Su Xing threw his shoulders, suddenly shooting over with his sword. If he had wanted a surprise attack just now, then he was too late. You indeed have Lin Chong. Yuan Xingliang's eyebrows rose, and his heart was shaken because he did not see Lin Chong present. He had even thought that was no more than a rumor. He suddenly recalled their conversation earlier. It seemed this man truly wanted to protect his star generals. Interesting. The next moment, along with a dazzling slashing movement, sword chi wildly shot out from his sword tip. It directly launched towards Yuan Xingliang. The latter hastily stepped back, raising his sword to defend. Green light protected his body. The next moment, Su Xing's attack slashed back from another angle like a wind's shadow. This time, the sharp blade broke through Yuan Xingliang's defenses without stopping at all. The heaven-tearing sword ripped apart his defense. Yuan Xingliang was considerably surprised about the trajectory of this sword shadow. However, Yuan Xingliang's next movement similarly made Su Xing a bit surprised. Yuan Xingliang's power exploded. Super void might stifled his chest, making Su Xing instinctively freeze for an instant, but it was this instant that he began his counterattack. The man's silhouette similarly manifested afterimages. The next second, that divine weapon already obstructed Su Xing's line of attack. Hooking and stabbing, Yuan Xingliang's swordsmanship was similarly displayed, a stunning counterattack. Su Xing smiled. His footwork suddenly changed. He evaded Yuan Xingliang's counterattack with light smoke dance steps. Yuan Xingliang's eyes widened as he cut empty space. A chill shot through him. Superb body techniques and swordplay suddenly made the Yuan Xingliang who had seized the initiative unable to help but defend. Su Xing turned defense into offense, completely not giving him an opening. Blades slashed at each other with speed too fast to track for the naked eye, and the combatants wandered all over the place. Then, they beautifully fought while activating wandering the clear skies. From time to time, a sharp slash passed through the air. After that, there was immediately a wretched ripping sound. Not only this, but even the bamboo forest that had been manifested was sucked into the berserk sword wind, successively falling from high up down low. Glaring sparks and afterimages were dazzling. The Yuan Xingliang who was in the middle of the sword shadows seemed to bear the pressure of a mountain. He was forced back step by step. Such formidable martial arts. Endless, continuous, uninterrupted. Is this Lin Chang's legendary innate skill that can surpass Star General's battle doctrine? Just as he thought this, a prick of cold light suddenly flit past his eyes. With a crisp sound, Yuan Xingliang hacked with his sword, once again mobilizing his supervoid power to jolt back Su Xing. At the same time, he finally ended Su Xing's continuous assault. Yuan Xingliang did not feel any ease. His face wore an unprecedented sternness. Despite that this was merely a continuous attack, in fact, each slash's technique made Yuan Xingliang startled, as if he was back fighting a top-notch Star General. Instantly, there was unexpectedly a kind of feeling that he was fighting majestic Star Ling Chong. But how can this be? Yuan Xingliang stared at Su Xing, his gaze ice-cold. How can this man have grown to such a frightening degree at this phase? What? Want to end the trial? Su Xing saw he was staring and could not help but mockingly ask. Of course, he was not at all clear about Yuan Xingliang's current doubts. His heart was currently speechless about his responses just now. He had staked all of his strength to go attack, yet Yuan Xingliang's defenses were still methodical, impeccable. You are so strong. Maiden Mountain would fear. No, she ought to be even happier. Yuan Lingliang showed an odd grin. Truly a pity, then? Su Xing stared, concentrated on his every move. This man was very strong. He could not be heedless. Yuan Xingliang's deep as water expression that completely lacked ripples made Su Xing's heart shiver slightly with unease. Just what was this guy saying? In a moment, Su Xing realized Yuan Xingliang's plan. A blue and green light enveloped Yuan Xingliang. His cheat-like supervoid stage star energy began to reach its greatest, protecting him. His sword pointed directly at Su Xing. It shot out during the sharp sound of metal cutting apart the air. All of the surroundings instantly seemed to freeze. The words that Su Xing wanted to say were frozen. The sword he wielded before that instant was stiff as iron, the air no longer flowed, and energy stopped its transmission. Yuan Xingliang explosively shouted, displaying several shadows that attacked. Su Xing shouted, acting at the same time without holding back. At the instant he came back to himself, Su Xing already raised his speed to the fastest he could. Then, in the eternity of this instant, Su Xing nevertheless discovered he had no possibility of dodging. Yuan Xingliang's attack that stopped everything practically made Su Xing amazingly recall top-notch Star Generals. In fact, what Su Xing was thinking was correct. This attack was the quintessence that Yuan Xingliang had refined from countless life or death battles with Star Generals. All of his attacks were under this sword. Ordinary Star Generals would meet their end with only a moment of carelessness. But Su Xing had already fought numerous times. The sparring he had done with the girls suddenly flashed across his mind. The blades that flit by like afterimages were immediately blocked, and he used this possibility. At the first moment, he stirred up all of his body's star energy. Heavenly abyss protected him. With a sneer, Yuan Xingliang arrived. His wrist twisted the blue splendid 8 treasure sword. The sword's jadeite swordlight drew trail after trail in the air at high speed, twisting across Su Xing's arms, chest and whole body like a gale, but at this instant, his insufferably arrogant defense was torn to shreds by sharp rays of light. Su Xing's expression froze. Yuan Xingliang's attack was far more terrifying than he had imagined. His senses very quickly knew that against a super void sword saint, holding back was only a dead end. He promptly withdrew. He retreated with light smoke dance steps. Yuan Xingliang did not hesitate at all to pursue. Sword light twisted from behind him, forming an absolutely large net. Up until this moment, Su Xing only then reacted. Turning his head back, he stared at Yuan Xingliang with an expression of disbelief at his sword that seemed to dominate time and space. Watch the final treasure, 7 doppelgangers sword array. 7, Yuan Xingliang shouted. Instantly, 7 of Yuan Xingliang's figures surrounded Su Xing. Each appeared like the real one, drawing identical smiles on the corner of their lips, wearing the same mocking expressions on their faces. Even their attack power, pace and breathing were identical. One Yuan Xingliang was enough to give Su Xing a headache, let alone 7. What a cheat! The 7 Yuan Xingliangs raised swords and slashed at Su Xing. Each angle and trajectory, Su Xing could not ponder any more. Heavenly abyss protected him, and heaven tearing flit by at the same time. Although there were 7, this was no more than an illusion of speed. Su Xing's hand pointed. A silver frost flame flew out. Instant frost flame. Ah! Yuan Xingliang cried out in shock. Instant frost flame immediately stopped his real body completely. The only one capable of activity was the real one. This is bad. Yuan Xingliang saw Su Xing smirk. The next instant, Su Xing and his sword had already become a bolt of lightning. They shot directly towards Yuan Xingliang again. The 10,000 techniques realm Su Xing's speed was absolutely fast. Shit. His whole body hurt. Yuan Xingliang clanged backwards. Hey, can't go on like this? I'm only getting started. Su Xing was very excited. His eyes were full of an unprecedented triumph. Originally, I thought no one among the Star Masters could have done this, but today I realized. I was a bit overconfident. Yuan Xingliang curled his lips with difficulty. Even when he faced a top-notch Star General, he had never cut such a sorry figure. Too sorry. It seems you have inherited Lin Chang's innate skill considerably perfectly. Yuan Xingliang's superb cultivation was completely useless, at least when battling the enemy from the front. Ling Yingmei is my first wife, what do you say? Su Xing licked his lips, and his figure suddenly vanished. Yuan Xingliang noticed that he completely had no chance to keep up. The battle had only just begun. Su Xing's assertion did not have any intent to be kidding. Yuan Xingliang curled the corner of her lips. Conceding defeat was not his style. The next second, both of them attacked again. Su Xing's heaven-tearing swords emitted golden light. Along the way, the sword tips changed randomly, as if they could appear at any moment. Each attack would draw a long and stiff trajectory in the air, and after that, they swept forth with the weight of 10,000 caddies. Yuan Xingliang barely resisted, so much so that he was already unable to consider any further Su Xing's attack pattern. He could only rely on his super void might to suppress Su Xing's frenzied assault. Against this sort of Star Master, he unexpectedly could only rely on super void cultivation. The excellent martial arts he thought he had completely were useless. Each strike, each impact made his blood vessels swell. Each time their naked blades crossed bluntly, each metallic exchange spilled forth sparks. Yuan Xingliang would shudder backwards under each enormous recoil, but not long after, the next collision would bring an even heavier, an even more violent momentum, bursting with sparks that were even more blinding. Yuan Xingliang had waited for this. Despite the gradual numbness in his hand from each impact of his weapon, his mind still maintained absolute calm, just like with those Star Generals he had fought before. The man was very clear that such a battle required him to waste extremely great amounts of energy. Finally, a gap would appear, and so long as this gap appeared, that would be his advantage. As expected, not long after. Su Xing showed exhaustion in his tidal wave-like sequence of attacks. The heaven-tearing sword's tips passed by the side, showing just a crack of a gap. Yuan Xingliang promptly seized this opportunity. Like a panther, he excitedly pounced. The blue splendid 8-treasure sword released its final strength. How could he have anticipated? Su Xing's heaven-tearing swords blocked the gap. Yuan Xingliang was stunned. Not good, I have been fooled. Light smoke dance steps circled around, and Yuan Xingliang retreated. Just at this moment, Su Xing raised the heaven-tearing sword. Yuan Xingliang had no choice but similarly raise his own flying sword, yet everything was in Su Xing's calculations. Just when he raised his flying swords, Su Xing had already instantly arrived right under his nose, his fists waving. A supercluster cultivator thinks he can suppress a supervoid cultivator? Yuan Xingliang was forced back by Su Xing's outburst. His fists punched. Their fists clashed with one another. Yuan Xingliang suddenly felt the power in that fist was extremely powerful. Su Xing used the monster strength innate skill to catch Yuan Xingliang's fist and nearly crush his bones. Pulling backwards, Yuan Xingliang could not help but be pulled along. Immediately afterwards, Su Xing's boxing began his assault. Punch after punch landed on his chest, striking Yuan Xingliang like a sandbag, making him vomit blood. He surprisingly completely lost to a supercluster cultivator. Yuan Xingliang truly had the mind to die. The unhindered master of the second star duels had unexpectedly completely lost to the Su Xing in front of him despite the situation of having higher cultivation. Yuan Xingliang coldly said, "Why don't you kill me?" Although Su Xing successfully defeated Yuan Xingliang, their cultivations were still different. Su Xing already was practically drained, and Yuan Xingliang still had some energy left. If he was to make a move now, he could definitely change the situation, but this completely lacked meaning. Yuan Xingliang was very clear that in the close quarters attack just now, the man in front of them completely had the chance to slay him. I believe that Gongsun Zhuqing's star master can at least keep his promise. Su Xing was aloof, yet his heart was inwardly cursing. Do you think I don't want to kill you? But there's no advantage to killing you. If it was not for his apprehension about Gongsun Zhuqing, Su Xing would not have been merciful. Something like a promise was no more than the utterance of an instant. Yuan Xingliang did not say anything. His whole body had already relaxed his guard, his willpower disappearing. Su Xing at this time placed all of his attention on the Star General's battle. Gongsun Zhuqing continuously casted numerous star magics, however, the star magics that she used were not among the heaven, dark, earth, or yellow. Although her magic energy was profound, Gongsun Huang and Wu Xiao could handle them. They just could not seize an advantage. I wonder what this little sister's true name is? Gongsun Zhuqing saw that Jiangsun Huang's age was little, yet her domineering aura was very formidable. Each of them dueled with various tricks. These star magics were not related to realm. The comparison was between the star energy between themselves and their own star masters. In terms of star energy, Gongsun Zhuqing occupied the absolute advantage, but Gongsun Huang's phoenix perching red clouds clothes rays of red light were mere normal star magic that could not cope at all. Just Huang. Gongsun Huang calmly replied. She pointed her sword, and a red sword light slashed towards Gongsun Zhuqing. Gongsun Zhuqing indifferently nodded and said, "A good name." She then also released several rays of green sword light to counter. Wu Xiao wrinkled her brow, stopping her attack. The star magic of the overlord before her was too powerful, and she had no way to close the distance. Seeing Su Xing and Yuan Xingliang's battle had ended, she breathed a sigh of relief. After she made eye contact with Su Xing, she then went to attack the Azure Cloud Dragon. "Wind rolls away life," Gongsun Zhuqing softly said. Her pine-brand ancient sword light twisted, disintegrating Gongsun Huang's sword light. It then slashed upon her cloak. Gongsun Huang knew the formidability of the senior before her, and she already knew her own star magic was no match for Gongsun Zhuqing. Her attempts with dark rank techniques were futile, but she still released as much as she could, only for all of them to completely be twisted to dust. Does little Huang still want to persist? Gongsun Zhuqing softly said. Suddenly, a dozen golden sword lights floated by. The fact was they were Su Xing's flying sword support array. Gongsun Zhuqing pleasantly smiled and repelled the flying swords with a wave of her blade. A dragon's roar came from the sky. Gongsun Zhuqing lifted her head to look and spotted the new heavenly phoenix, white and black unicorn tiger, and the azure cloud dragon were engaged in a great battle. Two star beasts against a mighty fierce beast with light. The three colors of white, red and green bubbled forth in the skies. The azure cloud dragon's body swam away, its claws torn up with several wounds, yet the new heavenly phoenix surprised Gongsun Zhuqing herself. The gorgeous phoenix flames surged into the sky and rolled about. Then, Su Xing and Wu Xiao arrived to assist. Not a moment later, the azure cloud dragon was dispatched. At this time, Gongsun Zhuqing was alone in facing the encirclement of Su Xing's party and star beasts. Your Highness Su Xing truly does not disappoint Zhuqing. Gongsun Zhuqing's smile was like a spring breeze. Zhuqing knew you would defeat Xingliang. Hey, Zhuqing, your words make me very hurt. Yuan Xingliang protested. Gongsun Zhuqing smiled tenderly at him. Gongsun Zhuqing, why are you doing this? Su Xing doubtfully asked. He was not convinced merely gifting a stone could make Gongsun Zhuqing so willing to throw the trial. This is very fair. Gongsun Zhuqing matter-of-factly said. I have a question I want to ask you. Gongsun Zhuqing said. What is it? The Star Duel's wish, what would you do with it? After I ascend Maiden Mountain, I will end the Star Duels. Su Xing said instantly. This had been his goal all along. Really? Gongsun Zhuqing smiled. Su Xing nodded and seriously said, The wish of my wives is also my wish. Gongsun Zhuqing continued to smile. A man that is able to be fancied by so many sisters is indeed not disappointing. Gongsun Zhuqing, just what do you want to say? Wu Xiao wrinkled her brow. Zhuqing, quickly finish the trial. Yuan Xingliang urged. We can perhaps stay a little longer. Gongsun Zhuqing nodded. Since Su Xing had already defeated Yuan Xingliang, the Leisure Star decided to no longer hold back. She raised the Pine-brand ancient sword. If you can withstand Zhuqing's dark rank and earth rank, then you will have passed. Wait a moment, there's people here. Let's go to the sea. Su Xing saw that the bamboo forest had already faded away. Blackwater City had been shocked, with cultivators hiding away in fear from Gongsun Zhuqing's powerful star magic, but this place was mostly a civilian area. With the power of Gongsun Zhuqing's second dark technique half-destroyed landscape, perhaps the entire island would be destroyed. Su Xing did not want to unexpectedly harm innocents. Yuan Xingliang was taken aback and chortled. Gongsun Zhuqing agreed. They moved to the center of the ocean by wandering the clear skies. Take this. Gongsun Zhuqing's tone was calm to the extreme. Her Pine-brand ancient sword shook. Suddenly, the calm seas quaked and the skies trembled. A tsunami wildly gushed forth. Frightening pressure squeezed from every direction, as if it wanted to crush Su Xing's group into submission. Su Xing opened the meditative mind lotus flower and activated Buddhism's most powerful defensive ability, Akala Wisdom King True Body. Wu Xiao also took Noble Frost Demonic Lotus into her hand. The 4-star destined weapon cut into space, shattering the oppressive feeling attacking them. A trickle of blood flowed from the corner of Gongsun Huang's mouth. She was not shaken at all as her fingers fluttered. Similarly, she used her dark technique. Half-destroyed landscape. Two powerful forces clashed against one another, and Su Xing immediately used resonance. A beautiful star crest appeared. The strength of the disadvantaged Gongsun Huang once again increased. Resonance, huh? Yuan Xingliang ruminated. It was a pity that their true spirit state meant they already did not have a star nest. They could not resonate either. Otherwise, he truly wanted to have a contest with this man in this aspect. The defeated Yuan Xingliang somewhat regretfully sighed. A shout came from the Longevity Palace. The heavenly hero Red Luan spread its wings and burned in the sky. Hua Wanyue immediately drew her bow as she stood on the Red Luan's back. The arrow pierced through as a rainbow, ripping apart space as it attacked Lin Yingmei. The corner of Lin Yingmei's mouth slightly pursed, and she charged to meet it head-on. Her chillingly beautiful pupils reflected the light flying over, and just as she was about to dodge, at this moment, Lin Yingmei became distracted. She hesitated a moment, and by the time Lin Yingmei came to her senses, the arrow was already in front of her. She leaned away but was penetrated by the arrow. She immediately took a heavy step back. Yingmei. Hua Wanyue turned pale. Disregarding their spar, she leapt down from the red lawn. Yingmei, are you all right? Hua Wanyue's feelings of concern were shown through her words. And Suwen and the other girls hastily gathered around. The efficacious star used life-returning magic hands to heal the wound. Lin Yingmei's brow wrinkled tight in distress. She looked at Wu Xinjie. Young master is in danger. The knowledge star had her head lowered in reckoning. When she heard Lin Yingmei's words, her expression was stern. An overlord has come. Hunyangzi's pupils shrunk. Without hesitation, she somersaulted and mounted her horse, flying out of the Longevity Palace. He has Wu Xiao and Gongsun Huang. If they encountered an overlord, did he not already promise to return? Hua Wanyue shook her head. She did not believe at all that Su Xing, Wu Xiao, and Gongsun Huang could contend against an overlord. Your servant must go. Lin Yingmei did not utter another word. She straddled Crying Frost and turned into a ray of cold light that vanished. Following close behind, Wu Xinjie, Zhang Yuqi and the other girls boarded the star-riding boat. A long while afterwards, the pressure finally faded. The seas calmed, and Su Xing breathed a sigh of relief. The contest between two identical dark techniques of the leisure stars that were number one in magic energy truly was over the top. A range of 100 li of ocean was already rendered into empty space by half-destroyed landscape. The sea water was broken completely apart, incomparably spectacular. Labor had appeared in the breathing of little Huang, which in Su Xing's memory had always been tranquil. Su Xing did not feel ease. His heart was even more grim, because there was still Gongsun Zhuqing's earth rank technique next. Wifey, you go for now. Su Xing whispered. He did not want to make Wu Xiao step into the muddy waters of this earth rank. Your servant is here, Lord Husband is here. If your servant flees, then she will also make Lord Husband emerge safe and sound. Wu Xiao was resolute. Who let you come protect me, wifey? Su Xing helplessly smiled. Wu Xiao snorted. Ha! Gongsun Zhuqing's expression was not furious, only naturally mighty. Her voice was like a clap of thunder, and the pine-brand ancient sword in her hand was flung towards the sky. That four-star destined weapon's light was fathomless, becoming something like a giant bell that enveloped them. A pitch-black space enclosed Su Xing's surroundings. As far as he could see, the bright day had become dark night. Earth-rank technique. Sun, moon, and stars. Dear best, if I may offer a bit of advice, use everything you can. Back then, Harm's star Wu Yinglan perished under sun, moon, and stars. Yuan Xingliang's voice of warning echoed in the darkness. Careful. Su Xing immediately felt chills. Without any hesitation, he used all of his defensive measures. The Empress II Earth Book, Heavenly Abyss shields, every sort of magic weapon and talisman were deployed back to back. A muffled thundering, like an explosion in the midst of chaos. The dark space suddenly manifested countless stars, like glittering pearls. In the blink of an eye, Gongsun Zhuqing pointed her finger, and the stars in the curtain of blackness were smashed towards Su Xing and the others like a torrential downpour. The scene of 10,000 stars falling was incomparably shocking. Just this was enough to collapse a cultivator's divine intent. Blood spurted into Su Xing's throat. The Earth Book, Heavenly Abyss, magic weapons, and talismans simultaneously received and obstructed the falling stars. With a voila, the magic weapons and talismans were destroyed within seconds. The Earth Book Empress II and Heavenly Abyss were prehistoric level but could barely hold out. Endlessly receiving the impacts of the star magic, these two were life-bound to Su Xing. Each strike made Su Xing's mind about to explode, inflicting him with extreme pain. Your Highness! Gong Sun Huang cried out in worry. Little Huang, you must use your earth rank in order to withstand this. Leave Lord Husband's protection to your servant. Wu Xiao flew up, scuttling into the 10,000 stars. Noble Frost Demonic Lotus split into 2 swords. The Harm Star wielded each sword dexterously, using her powerful star weapon to break the stars. Gong Sun Huang was moved. She tightly shut her eyes and whispered to herself. Her star crest flickered, and a flowing light spanned, constructing a magnificent array. Can you use your earth rank in time? Gong Sun Zhuqing muttered. Empress Tu grunted. Her curtain of yellow-orange earth chi was shredded by the stars. Su Xing violently vomited blood, and the earth book immediately lost its spiritual power. The true spirit Empress Tu benevolently waved her long sleeve. Yellow dust rolled, and in the end, with the combined power of Wu Xiao and the heavenly abyss forged from black turtle divine iron, the 10,000 stars finally faded away. However, the earth rank technique sun, moon, and stars had only just begun. A soft light glimmered in the night. A shining, bright moon appeared behind Gong Sun Zhuqing. This moon was glittering and pure, like a jade plate. Then, it grew larger and larger, dragging a long tail that then smashed towards them. This time, Su Xing already had no means left to block it. The New Heavenly Phoenix and White and Black Unicorn Tiger rushed towards the moon. The moon's radiance released the power of 1,000 caddies. With a boom, the White and Black Unicorn Tiger was crushed to pieces by the moon. At the same time, the New Heavenly Phoenix unfolded its wings, and a sky-covering conflagration ignited into an enormous net. Afterwards, this normally lofty New Heavenly Phoenix sensed its master's intentions, and it charged towards the moon without holding back at all. 2. After an enormous explosion, the moon disintegrated. This is the Earth rank star magic of number 1 in magic energy Gong Sun Sheng. In but an instant, she had destroyed star beasts and broken every sort of ability. Su Xing felt chills. Lord Husband, careful. It still is not over. Wu Xiao shouted. Sun, moon, and stars, don't tell me there's still the sun, Su Xing cursed to himself. 3. The temperature suddenly turned broiling hot. The pitch-black world was practically burned away by a fireball. The giant, sky-burning fireball appeared under Su Xing's curses. The seawater thundered and was bleakly burned away. Then allow your servant to experience just how you defeated my senior. Wu Xiao shouted. She soared into the sky, thinking of using her double swords to catch the fireball. But she had just flew up a step when she was held back. Wifey, don't go. Su Xing used the chaotic tail escape to embrace Wu Xiao, immediately dragging her back. The temperature of 10,000 degrees burned their skin into cracking. It seriously seemed as if the sun was falling. Just the head-on feign wind made Su Xing unable to breathe. He hastily circulated his magic energy and used the chaotic tail escape. He might as well see things through to the end since he had already started escaping. Although this was a bit humiliating, there would still be more chances. The 10,000 zhang fireball illuminated the world into a complete red. The seawater dried up and turned into a bottomless abyss. Su Xing hugged Wu Xiao, and then in another instant he constantly rushed about in the abyss. This is only earth rank, your servant can handle it. Seeing Su Xing's whole body appeared blood red, Wu Xiao's face paled. Su Xing paid no attention to her. Wu Xiao bit her lips tightly. If she comprehended her earth rank, she would not be so passive, but this earth rank could not be comprehended simply by willing it. In particular, it was much more difficult to comprehend without a contract when compared to having one. Those as fortunate as Hua Wanyue were limited to only a few in each generation. Wu Xiao looked at Gong Sun Huang again. She was still reciting her incantation. Her magnificent star array was increasingly beautiful and even more complex. From time to time, light formed an azure dragon, and from time to time, it turned into a phoenix. Seeing that Gong Sun Huang would not make it, Wu Xiao inwardly worried. She stared at Su Xing's face that was currently concentrating completely. Wu Xiao's eyes turned very gentle, and Wu Xiao could not help but extend her hand to wipe the beads of sweat on his brow. The sun's fire already put Su Xing on a dead end. Su Xing's chaotic tail escape received the high temperature, and his speed clearly slowed. Wu Xiao already made her resolution. She prepared to sign a kiss contract with Su Xing. With a pact, regardless of her or Su Xing, either one could contend against this sun, moon, and stars. Lord Husband, Wu Xiao softly called. What's the matter? Su Xing stopped his flight. He turned around to see the sun flying towards him had also arrived in front of Gong Sun Huang. He might as well prepare the jade pendant to escape. Wu Xiao's hands clasped Su Xing's face. Xiao? Just as Wu Xiao was about to say something at this very moment, a sharp arrow whistled by, piercing through the sun and shooting directly for Su Xing's stomach. A dazzling rainbow light dispersed Su Xing's surroundings. Multicolored light turned into a curtain, and it suddenly suppressed the sun's fire instantly. The temperature then plunged into extreme cold. The two of them were astonished and looked. The soaring flames were already frozen. Cold frost annihilated, and icy snow howled. With a crack, the sun split apart. A girl of ice-like coldness pierced the sun with one thrust of her spear. Astonishingly, it was Lin Yingmei and her Earth rank technique. Ice Heart seals sun and moon. 5 crash. This sudden turnaround surprised them. Young master. Lin Yingmei's face was pale. She had finally cut down the sun. The pitch-black space instantly regained its light. Sun, moon, and stars announced its defeat. Su Xing looked. Lin Yingmei, Wu Xinjie, Hunyangzi, Yan Yizhen, and the rest had already arrived. Even farther away, there was also Hua Wanyue standing on the red lawn, drawing her bow to fire arrows. Without another word, they were about to attack Gongsun Zhuqing. Stop! Su Xing hastily called for them to pause. Dear husband? Hunyangzi was confused. She is not an enemy. Su Xing shook his head. Wu Xinjie was stupefied. Gongsun Zhuqing recalled her star magic, and Su Xing then explained the course of events. Yuan Xingliang was stupefied by the scene he saw in front of him. Carefully counting, there were at least 10 star generals, and there were even 2 that had comprehended Earth rank. He inwardly thought that this was strange. This battle formation was too terrifying. If he had this power from the very beginning, it was not easy to say who would win and who would lose. As expected, she is dragon in the clouds Gong Sun Sheng. Wu Xinjie wryly smiled. She unexpectedly had a heaven rank special move. Truly, Xinjie did not expect you would have this trial. Zhuqing did not expect he would have so many sisters in accompaniment either. Just now, Su Xing said he wanted to protect you. It seems this is somewhat logical. Gongsun Zhuqing faintly nodded, as if acknowledging Su Xing's words. Do you still want to fight? Our agreement is fulfilled. Since the 3 magics of earth, dark and yellow were used, Zhuqing shall stop here. Gongsun Zhuqing shook her head, no longer wishing to fight. Then truly many thanks. Wu Xinjie smiled and said. With matters having reached this stage, they had at long last passed through this second overlord's trial with little more than fright. Recalling the sun, moon, and stars just now, all of the girls were speechless. The entire sea region had been dried into a canyon. This star magic was truly frightening. Su Xing, Gongsun Zhuqing said. Su Xing looked at the girl. A stone suddenly flew over. Su Xing caught it in passing. It was a gray runestone carved into a strange dragon. There were faint traces of strong power. This is a runestone, dragon that holds candles. 6. If you wish to comprehend Zhuqing's heaven rank, then you can have little Huang open it. It can be used only once. Gongsun Zhuqing unhurriedly said. Su Xing was stunned. Heaven rank star magic. Don't misunderstand. This absolutely is not an exchange of vows. Zhuqing belongs to this palace. Don't you have strange thoughts? Yuan Xingliang chuckled. You gifted Zhuqing a runestone, and neither does she want to owe you a favor. Therefore, she's gifting you the dragon that holds candles. Now we are considered even. Su Xing, if you truly wish to accomplish your wish, when you ascend Maiden Mountain in the future, you will encounter even greater danger. Perhaps it will help you. Gongsun Zhuqing then said. Su Xing heard her implication and nodded, carefully thanking her. There is still a bit of time. We are not wasting it. Yuan Xingliang glanced at those numerous beautiful ladies, wearing a bit of envy. Cherish them well. After saying this, Gongsun Zhuqing nodded. With wandering the clear skies, they very quickly disappeared into the horizon. Heaven rank runestone? This is stars. 7. Young Su, did you have an affair with that Zhuqing? She surprisingly gave you her heaven rank. Su Xing rolled his eyes at her. Only little Huang can use this heaven rank. Little Huang, your highness. Gongsun Huang blinked. Just now, she appeared preoccupied. Those extraordinary eyes fell upon Su Xing's own. Su Xing understood and smiled. He gently stroked little Huang's head. Let's go home. Wifey, did you have anything you wanted to say to me just now? Su Xing walked to Wu Xiao and asked. Nothing. Wu Xiao replied without changing her face. Su Xing showed an expectant expression. Did you want to sign a contract just now? Without letting Wu Xiao explain, Su Xing continued to say, Xiao, you and I already call each other husband and wife. Just when can I sign a contract with you? I really want to do it. Wu Xiao was silent for a moment. Her eyes were charming, and she mysteriously smiled. Lord husband, are you not reassured about your servant? Of course not, but signing a contract is insurance. Su Xing chuckled. Lord husband need not worry. Is the Seven Stars Assembly still not far off? Wu Xiao played with a lock of hair that had fallen across her shoulder. Calm as a dry well, her reply was also very indifferent. If Lord husband has faith in your servant, then do not make more trouble for your servant. Your servant has her own plans and asks Lord husband to understand. When Wu Xiao's words mentioned this, Su Xing could not say anything more. Although he did not know whether Wu Xiao's allowance was to not sign a star duel covenant for the time being or to be unwilling henceforth, Su Xing had already resolved himself. No matter what, he would not allow Wu Xiao to go do anything foolish. Right? Lord husband ought to be a bit more concerned with little Huang. Wu Xiao softly used sound transmission. The Gongsun Huang sitting on Su Xing's shoulder had been a bit absent-minded all along. Clearly, she was somewhat disappointed. Su Xing knew that the taciturn little Huang was afraid that because she did not use her earth rank to conquer Gongsun Zhuqing in the end, there was a bit of a sore spot. Little Huang. Su Xing gently called. Your Highness. Gongsun Huang's sight regained its focus. How about we go bathe together in a moment? Fighting for so long is exhausting. Gongsun Huang nodded, already very accustomed to doing this with Su Xing. She did not feel embarrassed at all, yet it was Wu Xiao's earlobes that felt hot when she heard this. It truly was inevitable and right for these two to take a married couple's bath. Gongsun Huang's appearance seemed 7, 8 or 9 years old, but star generals did not have ages. According to rank, Gongsun Huang still counted as her elder sister. Xiao, let's go together? No. Wu Xiao was firm. You said we are husband and wife, what's there to be embarrassed about? Su Xing counterattacked with the words Wu Xiao just said. Wu Xiao glared at Su Xing. She softly grunted, not saying anything this time. Huaqing Pool, a dense immortal qi rose in spirals. The clear water rippled. Su Xing was currently enjoying a soak in the bath. The pure white mist gradually dispersed, and then came the sounds of footsteps. Su Xing opened his eyes. Gongsun Huang took small, quick steps and entered the Huaqing Pool. The little loli was completely naked like before. She jumped into the pool and swam into Su Xing's embrace. Su Xing slightly smiled and used his hand to comb Gongsun Huang's beautiful, long hair. Gongsun Huang closed her eyes. Little Huang, are you still thinking about what happened before? Su Xing began to wipe Gongsun Huang's body. Gongsun Huang's skin was very supple, and Su Xing appeared very careful of hurting her with each scrub. Gongsun Huang nodded. That Gongsun Zhuqing has already gone through the 3 heavenly books, has already attended the 7 Stars Assembly, and she scaled Maiden Mountain. Her superiority right now is very normal. Su Xing smiled. Even you shouldn't be so dispirited, little Huang. But your highness defeated your senior star master. Little Huang could not do the same. So it turned out to be this. Su Xing teased little Huang's chin. If it wasn't for little Huang using half-destroyed landscape to break the encirclement, it would also have been hard for me to say. We're together in this. We share in honor and disgrace, in life and death. Don't take responsibility by yourself. Your Highness speaks so pleasantly. Gongsun Huang lowered her brow. If you can listen, that would be even better. Su Xing was full of love for her. Among all of the wives, Gongsun Huang was bigger than Tang Tang by just a bit, but her personality was extraordinarily refined. She generally had a sort of air that placed herself above the common populace. In addition, his contract with Gongsun Huang could be said to be lightning quick. Although Hun Yangzi signed her contract even more quickly, there was at least a long time of mutual understanding. However, even if Su Xing wanted to deeply understand Gongsun Huang, he did not know where to start. Often being together with Gongsun Huang was one of the roundabout ways Su Wing wanted to understand her. Ying Mei comprehended her earth rank, and even Hua Wanyue has also comprehended her earth rank. But little Huang was nevertheless no help this time. Gongsun Huang showed slight melancholy. As a top-notch star general in magic energy, it was still by relying on Lin Ying Mei and Hua Wanyue in the end to break their encirclement that made Gongsun Huang dejected. This is the first time that I've seen you like this, little Huang. Su Xing's mouth hung agape. Gongsun Huang's appearance right now was extremely beautiful. Water droplets moistened her body, and her pupils contained an amorous glance. That slightly faint grief stripped away the refined appearance Gongsun Huang always had in his memory. It was replaced with the tender love only a normal woman could have. In an instant, Su Xing was thoroughly captivated. Su Xing was able to take a married couple's bath with little Huang without any feeling of wrongdoing. Su Xing was earnest. Gongsun Huang gently nodded. As she spoke, her hand beckoned forth the pine-brand ancient sword and used wind rolls the clouds. Several thousand thin rays of light became thick as cups. Under Gongsun Huang's sword, they rolled toward Su Xing, completely surrounding him, quickly spinning around. A sparkling hurricane flowed, dizzying. Su Xing did not dare be careless and summoned Heavenly Abyss for defense. Wind rolls the clouds was intercepted by Su Xing. Then, Su Xing snapped his fingers. The air shook, and a thunderbolt continuously shot out of his fingers. Rays of purple chi mixed with thick lightning bolts and rolled in an array, squeezing in together towards Gongsun Huang from all sides. This was Su Xing's purple mansion Immortal Thunder. Seeing that Su Xing was serious, Gongsun Huang did not evade. She allowed the purple mansion Immortal Thunder to close in. Bang, bang, bang. There were 10 consecutive explosions. Multicolored light swelled. Gongsun Huang weaved a barrier. Su Xing only felt a certain enormous defensive force counterattack. He thought to himself, little Huang's not bad. His body could not help but be sent flying by this force. He fiercely flew backwards. The star magic on Gongsun Huang's pine-brand ancient sword then burst forth. A pursuit that did not stop to breathe. Su Xing's reactions were slow by a step, and he was struck. Flying away, he forcibly held back the blood in his throat. Your Highness! Little Huang, use your full power to attack. Su Xing shouted. In actuality, he was already completely spent. However, for the sake of allowing little Huang to regain her spirits, he was barely able to bring out full power. Gongsun Huang waved her hand, shattering the purple mansion Immortal Thunder and even reflecting it back. Su Xing knew little Huang's might, but he did not anticipate she could surprisingly do this. It appeared that she not one bit inferior to Gongsun Juqing. However, Su Xing was not in a great rush. A lotus flower bloomed behind him, and Purple Fiend soared. He used the meditative mind lotus flower and Purple Fiend at the same time. Seeing the Purple Fiend attack, Gongsun Huang waved her sword, increasing her star energy. Not daring to directly block it, her foot stamped, and she became a rainbow. Not bad, not bad. Su Xing smiled. Just when Gongsun Huang was about to leave, Su Xing already quickly appeared where she had just been, still thinking of seizing the chance for a sneak attack. He could not help but praise Gong Sun Huang's sharpness. Gong Sun Huang again unleashed star magic. This time was cloud traveling azure dragon turn. The surroundings clouds took on a dragon's form, scratching with sharp claws and fangs. At this time, Gong Sun Huang gripped the pine-brand ancient sword. The sword's tip released multicolored light, and pointing forward, the entire space was filled with it. The azure dragon of cloud rolled wherever the light was, wave after wave, large as a mountain. Gong Sun Huang stood in the radiant multicolored light, refined, not uttering a word as she pointed her sword directly at Su Xing. Su Xing raised his body. The meditative mind lotus flower bloomed, activating the Buddhist defensive power. Several dozen enormous golden lotuses blossomed in midair, facing the approaching cloud-traveling azure dragon turn as they floated around inside it. At the same time, Su Xing rushed at Gong Sun Huang, not using any technique whatsoever. This was a contest of pure strength. This momentum was exceptionally fierce. Although this was only a test, Gong Sun Huang did not dare be overconfident. She changed formation, evading continuously in the multicolored light. She pointed her sword, carrying 10,000 zhang multicolored light that slashed directly at Su Xing from the front. Su Xing's meditative mind lotus flowers swayed in the wind. It was the size of a mountain, yet it dueled with the rolling 1,000 zhang of multicolored light. Several dozen talismans were used in Su Xing's hand, directly pounding towards Gong Sun Huang in front of him. Gong Sun Huang flew up with her sword. That 10,000 zhang multicolored light rolled into a hurricane, forcefully blowing the glowing talismans away, not allowing them to get close. The two of them entered an increasingly frenzied state. Su Xing began close quarters, using martial force to continuously pressure Gong Sun Huang. Gong Sun Huang and Su Xing were nearly the same, both somewhat exhausted after undergoing the second Overlord's trial. However, when a magic energy star general tired, her weakness was very clear. But Su Xing's all-or-nothing attack was finally not wasted. Gong Sun Huang was in a completely excited state. After several exchanges, Su Xing already felt his vision go fuzzy. He was extremely fatigued, but seeing Gong Sun Huang already had her foot in the door, he forcefully shouted, "Little Huang, use your earth rank to decide the victor." Gong Sun Huang did not say anything more. She floated in the air and began to wave her sword. The multicolored lights became a line, linking with her chi. Su Xing's forehead burned, and a star crest flashed. Gong Sun Huang's star crest dazzled in emergence, forming a beautiful phoenix that flapped its wings. Su Xing's whole body relaxed. The corner of his mouth smiled, and he did not attack any further. Gong Sun Huang shut her eyes and completely immersed herself in the construction of star magic. Multicolored light rolled around the girl's whole body, like a mantle of multicolored light. Bright flames surged, instantly wrapping Gong Sun Huang. In Su Xing's eyes, Gong Sun Huang bathed in divine flames. That enormous blaze already ignited into sky-covering wings. Su Xing showed astonishment. What a beautiful technique! The training field was already filled with crimson light. Even the entire Longevity Palace was enveloped within. The other girls were already drawn over to the outside of the drilling field and stared dumbstruck at Gong Sun Huang's transformation. Has Sister Little Huang comprehended her earth rank technique? Shi Yuan said blankly. Precisely. Wu Xinjie said. For the sake of helping Gong Sun Huang be able to quickly comprehend her earth rank, Su Xing simultaneously tapped Gong Sun Huang's star crest on his forehead, imbuing her with his star energy, but his magic energy was practically depleted and somewhat exhausted. At this moment, his whole body suddenly warmed, and his star energy inconceivably restored. And Suan activated her star magic to replenish Su Xing's star energy. Su Xing spotted the other beauties and smiled at them. There was a quiet sound, and the stars shook. This was a spectacular scene, one already incapable of being described with words. Gong Sun Huang suddenly opened her eyes. The little girl was already engulfed in flames. Her back had two giant blazing wings. Flames as magnificent as gems swept over her whole body as she suddenly charged toward Su Xing. She spread her wings to a length of several dozen li long. There was a phoenix cry. Astonishingly, she was like a phoenix. The world sunk into absolutely beautiful despair. Earth rank technique. Phoenix execution sky break. The Gong Sun Huang that had transformed into a phoenix flew straight at Su Xing. With this level of might, perhaps a transforming star of annihilation level cultivator would be wary, but Su Xing's expression did not change. The corner of his lips even curled as he contrarily smiled. The phoenix transformation Gong Sun Huang was beautiful to the extreme, her self-confidence at its peak. Just when she was about to slam into Su Xing, the world suddenly dimmed and the jewel flames extinguished. Gong Sun Huang cooed, pouncing into Su Xing's embrace. Although she was very tired, she wore a never-before-seen satisfaction. Su Xing warmly hugged her. "Your Highness." Gong Sun Huang softly mumbled, resting her head against Su Xing's chest. Her hands tightly gripped Su Xing's clothes, not wanting to let go. "Are these thousand-year tears?" The second day, the distance to the treasure banquet was already no more than a few days away. Su Xing also prepared to start increasing his cultivation. In the trial of the second star duel's overlord, although Su Xing completely won against Yuan Xingliang, he was deeply aware of the immense disparity in cultivation. If he was able to reach Supervoid at that time, perhaps he could have had more leeway facing Gongsun Juqing. Now, the third overlord was even more dangerous, so Su Xing naturally could not sit and wait for death. Watching in Suwen refine the thousand-year tears, Su Xing took in a deep breath. The great good fortune pills are best given to Milord. Shi Yu at this time looked at the dragon snake great good fortune pill with a bit of conflictedness. Su Xing originally had Zhang Yuqi steal this dragon snake great good fortune pill. Afterwards, although Zhang Yuqi and Su Xing signed a contract, the damage star no longer needed it. Su Xing felt he had no need to ingest the dragon snake great good fortune pill when he himself had the thousand-year tears. Shi Yu now was near breakthrough to Supervoid stage and just happened to need it. Furthermore, Zhang Feiyu also was Zhang Yuqi's elder sister. Passing it on to her was obvious, to say nothing that the relationship between Shi Yu and him was not normal. At the current stage, Supervoid Star Masters are increasing in number. Shi Yu, you should take it yourself. You also need to look after yourself properly. Only then will I be relieved. Su Xing shook his head. But Shi Yu has already received the prehistoric spirit treasure dual modes ruler that Milord gave. Shi Yu knew that Su Xing clearly had even greater troubles, and she was slow and uncertain. Zhang Yuqi playfully said, "Elder sister Shi Yu, if the gap between your strength and young Su's is too big, you'll be abandoned by young Su." Shi Yu gasped. Su Xing rolled his eyes at the damaged star. "This is obviously false. But I can never selfishly raise my own strength. You'd better take it. In the future 7 Stars Assembly, things will be even more dangerous." Shi Yu, just agree. You do not want to become a burden on young Lord, do you? Wu Xinjie mockingly said. Shi Yu understood and nodded. Shi Yu will not disappoint Milord. Next was to take the medicine and enter secluded cultivation to shoot straight into the legendary highest level of cultivation in Liangshan continent, Supervoid stage. Su Xing sat upright and still, ingesting the thousand-year tears. After the thousand-year tears entered his throat, a clear flow seeping to the bottom of his heart suddenly washed through his whole body's meridians. That type of a faintly warm flow made Su Xing feel a sense of rebirth. Su Xing promptly began to circulate the cultivation method, making the thousand-year tears flow several cycles inside his body. A moment later, after the thousand-year tears completely flowed through his whole body's meridians, Su Xing began to make the star energy in his body dissolve into the thousand-year tears. His ocean-like star energy was suffused, instantly flooding his whole body. Su Xing's heart shivered, but only for an instant. His cultivation had already reached the peak of supercluster late stage, which truly was lightning speed. His star energy that was as boundless as the sea surged and flowed inside his body. His blood vessels and meridians were filled, and his internal organs were even more stuffed. Su Xing only felt his whole body was about to explode. He knew this was the characteristic of supercluster peak. He needed to use every kind of method to make the star energy in his body that was completely unbearable to truly combine with him. By the time the star energy in his body was thoroughly empty, this meant he had entered the most powerful supervoid stage. His star energy was like the sky, a vast and boundless powerful cultivation. But to enter supervoid stage required much experience, an extremely difficult process. Liangshan continent's majority of cultivators often were unable to advance past supercluster late stage, and dissolving star energy was a very slow process. The slightest inattentiveness could meet with backlash, a star energy explosion that could destroy the cultivator at the same time. Su Xing already knew that he could neither be too fast nor too slow. He adjusted his mentality and used the heart-like mirror's highest realm to begin harmonization. Outside the immortal's abode, the girls were currently pacing back and forth in extreme worry. Can Su Xing break through to supervoid stage? Shi Yuan nervously said. With the 1,000-year tears, this should not be a problem. Hua Wanyue was dismissive. Wu Xinjie was not as optimistic. Xinjie hears that to enter supervoid stage, one must first of all be able to be accustomed to supercluster peak's powerful star energy in order to be able to slowly transform it into a void. For one like young lord to directly jump from supercluster middle stage to supervoid is perhaps somewhat sudden. Are you saying it is impossible? Make mental preparations for this. Wu Xinjie was stern. In actuality, there was another reason Su Xing's star generals were numerous. To support 11 contracted star generals required apportioning the star energy. Even if they could receive star energy at the moment of signing a contract, it would become an utterly inadequate measure in later stages. Maintaining 11 star dual covenants required enormous levels of star energy. The truth was that the strength of Su Xing himself was already comparable to supervoid early, maybe even middle stage. The other girls knew the reasons and were somewhat silent. Sisters, we need not think too much. Young Lord has never complained before. Even when he was Stardust stage was very willing to contract every one of the sisters. Wu Xinjie said in jest. I actually do not doubt one bit that man's ambitions. Hua Wanyue indifferently said. All of the girls laughed, and the atmosphere greatly improved. 1 day passed. 2 days passed. On the 5th day, Shiyu already emerged from seclusion. As expected, the great good fortune pill allowed for an easy breakthrough. The girl's cultivation already reached supervoid early stage, and she became a supervoid cultivator. Seeing that Su Xing had still not emerged, the Shiyu who had originally been excited from the bottom of her heart began to worry. In the blink of an eye, for 1 week, the immortal's abode was still completely silent, and the treasure banquet was already about to begin. Just when all of the girls were restless, finally on this day, the gates slowly opened. A powerful air directly swept into their lungs, intimidating the space. All of the girls were stifled. Su Xing shut one eye, walking out as if he had taken a big nap. Su Xing. Shi Yuan excitedly leapt forth. You're all here, huh? Su Xing smiled. Young Master Wu. Linning looked Su Xing up and down. Wu Xinjie's eyes glittered, and her whole body shuddered in excitement. Young Lord, you entered supervoid stage? Su Xing nodded. Supervoid stage cultivation honestly was too terrific. Su Xing completely could not feel a difference in the flow within his body. His entire person seemed to have become one with the world. He had truly reached the so-called realm of oneness of heaven and man. A kind of rich feeling of incomparable satisfaction made Su Xing have a sort of dignity just by lifting a finger. This was a supervoid cultivator. Shiyu, you're also supervoid, that's great. Su Xing happily said. Xinjie, has the treasure banquet started? Nearly, however, young lord, you have stayed for so long, you must properly wash off. Wu Xinjie's eyes turned, craftily speaking. Little E, you go serve young lord in the bath, all right? The knowledge star turned her head, addressing the taciturn Yen Yizhen. No need for this, I can do it myself. Su Xing awkwardly said. If young lord does not allow little E to do this, Little E will take this to heart and be moody. Wu Xinjie giggled. These days, all of the girls were concerned with Su Xing's progress. Only Yan Yizhen alone occasionally occupied herself with cleaning the longevity hall, particularly the Huaqing pool. Yan Yizhen was often absent-minded as she cleaned the pool. How could Wu Xinjie not know what the reticent maid was thinking about? Thinking carefully, the more Su Xing's star generals increased. With little E not fond of talking, she was actually somewhat snubbed. The other ladies also felt this way, and they just nodded in agreement. Hua Wanyue very much wanted to utter aloud, "Shameless man," but seeing Lin Yingmei's happy appearance, she swallowed this back down. Inside the Huaqing pool, Su Xing was unclothed. Yan Yizhen was also only draped in a bath towel. The maid's head wore a flower crown. Her ordinarily cold and indifferent vermilion pupils were full of a rarely seen warmth right now. Her dexterous, slim, white fingers held a towel to wipe Su Xing's whole body. "Little E, I've truly troubled you." Little E could not compare to Gong Sun Huang. The touch of the maid's fingers tantalized Su Xing's heart. Serving master is something slave servant ought to do. Yan Yizhen calmly replied. "I don't feel you should do something like this. Master, are you dissatisfied?" "No, really?" "Really, but..." Su Xing's breathing quickened, and he took a big breath. "But little E, you're a bit too enthusiastic." Yan Yizhen at this time brought her pink arms from behind him, winding them under Su Xing's arms to hug his chest. Little E stuck her body tightly against Su Xing's. That curvaceous body was something extremely tantalizing, making Su Xing's heart frisky. And Yan Yizhen's service technique was so brilliant. A pair of skillful hands gently brushed past every inch of Su Xing's skin, making Su Xing receive a great provocation. "Little E," Su Xing moaned. "Master, please do no resist." Yan Yizhen was tender. One hand suddenly left Su Xing's chest. Before Su Xing could breathe a sigh of relief out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly spotted a white towel floating on the pool's water. Su Xing was stunned. A soft chest immediately squeezed tightly onto his back. The scorching hot touch on his skin was even more intense, and he could particularly feel those two distinct points on the girl's breasts. Yan Yizhen began to rub up and down along Su Xing's body as she stuck to it. This overwhelming skinship drove Su Xing nearly mad. The maid used her own body to slowly comfort him. Su Xing was both pleasured yet also conflicted. His lower body was already erect. "Little E, why are you doing it like this?" "Slave servant should. Has master not done even more intimate things with the other elder sisters? Could it be you despise slave servant?" Yan Yizhen's hands wrapped around Su Xing's shoulders. Like a vice grip, the maid's vermilion pupils were already full of unfocused passion. The rubbing of her body was even more passionate, and Su Xing already could feel every last inch of curvaceous skin on Yan Yizhen's whole body. "Does master love slave servant?" Yan Yizhen was at a loss. "Of course." Su Xing nodded, not turning back. Yan Yizhen said nothing. When her rubbing came to between Su Xing's thighs, a burst of qi and blood charged into his forehead, making Su Xing no longer able to maintain control. He turned around and looked at the maid in front of him. Yan Yizhen, who was like a rose in spring rain, displayed a never-before-seen of unfocused eyes, hazy passion that did not lack allure. Her completely naked, snow-white body was plainly visible to Su Xing's eyes. Her moist red lips slightly parted, filled with a melancholic pity. Su Xing lowered his head to kiss those gentle lips. The pair embraced in the Huaqing pool, pulled their bodies even closer, winding their tongues around each other, exchanging saliva. Yan Yizhen felt that stiff scorching between her legs. She was already aroused. "Master, do you want slave servant?" "We can't." Su Xing preserved his last bit of clarity, although he indeed very much wanted to be beastly. "Wait until we ascend Maiden Mountain. We have a lot of time in the future, we don't have to hurry this, right?" "Slave servant obeys master." Yan Yizhen's breath was gossamer. The two of them kissed again. Each of their hands already were unfettered. Su Xing grasped little Yi's towering jade peaks, uncontrollably kneading them. Little E let out an enchanting voice, as if she was singing. Her hands at the same time moved along Su Xing's lower body. Little E, young lord, have you finished bathing? Beware of going overboard. Suddenly, a naughty voice came from the entrance. The shuffling of feet drew closer. Su Xing and Yan Yizhen stopped their passionate kiss. Yan Yizhen recovered a bit of sobriety, and her face turned red as a rose. She prepared to leave, but Su Xing did not let her go. With things at the present stage, to come up with an excuse truly ruined the mood. He tightly hugged Yan Yizhen, making the girl lean on his shoulder. Ingmei, Xinjie, Nyangzi. Su Xing's qi and blood boiled. The steam parted, and 3 beautiful young women walked over. Each was a nation-destroying beauty, completely threadbare. Dear husband, we have come to help dear husband. Hu Nyangzi was slightly bashful, shifting her gaze about. Wu Xinjie saw Yan Yizhen and Su Xing's intimate position. She said to the sisters, Xinjie guessed correctly. Young lord is definitely suffering very much from holding back. Your servant had better leave for now. Lin Weingmai covered her body. She was still wearing her bodice, a little hesitant about what would happen next. Su Xing saw Wu Xinjie's crafty wink, and then he knew she was being deliberate. Master, milady, please enjoy yourselves. Slave servant can serve nearby. Yan Yizhen's face was red. Her eyes recovered her indifference. Little E, you also caused this trouble. Su Xing perspired. Don't be noisy. To celebrate young lord entering supervoid stage, this time, Ingmei, Xinjie and Nyangzi shall attend to young lord together. Wu Xinjie pulled the hands of the 2 sisters and jumped into the Huaqing pool. Wu Xinjie then winked at Yan Yizhen, ambiguously saying, Young lord is but a beast that can never be satisfied. The 3 of us sisters cannot deal with him. At that time, we will need your help, little E. Slave servant obeys your command. Yan Yizhen lowered her head, her face red. The Huaqing pool immediately filled with moans of nature, bashful panting, and a storm-like party. And no more shall be mentioned of their harmonious content. Zhao Hanyan looked at the ruins in front of her, furrowing her brow. She had come from the queen mother of the Kunlun Mountains that refined the 1,000-year tears with great difficulty. Even after she had ingested it, she was too late to rush to the Bright Moon Longevity Palace, but the sight before her made the Ling Yen princess oddly even somewhat worried. The splendid and spectacular 9 halls of the Bright Moon Longevity Palace were already smithereens. No trace of them was left, and there was a complete lack of any sign of their existence. It seems it really is true. That man truly is exceptional, to surprisingly actually solve the puzzle of the Longevity Palace. Steadfast Star Dong Junqing felt disbelief. They heard a din of hubbub about the Longevity Palace the moment they came down from the Mountain of Immortals. However, this did not make Zhao Hanyan feel happy. Because she had also heard about the 10 great sects surrounding the Purple Thunder Monster, she recalled that Father Emperor had suddenly sent her on an errand to Kunlun. She immediately deduced the ins and outs of the situation, and her heart was somewhat furious. Princess Highness, there is no need to be angry with Emperor Liang. Dong Junqing, can it be you have forgotten the intertwined branch between this princess and Su Xing? Princess, in this encirclement, Su Xing has not only obtained the Longevity Palace, he has obtained many gains from this great sect encirclement. You ought to thank Emperor Liang for this, correct? That man has star generals like Lin Chong, and the 10 great sects have nothing more than a bunch of idiot jesters. Dong Junqing pursed her lips. She snorted, appearing somewhat disgruntled that Su Xing's skills had outshined again. Zhao Hanyan was without a choice. This princess wonders where Su Xing is. However, the treasure banquet is about to begin. We ought to be able to see him. We can worry about things then. Zhao Hanyan could not help curling the corner of her lips as she recalled that man. Just as the 2 of them were about to leave. At this time, an escape light came from the sky. 4 figures appeared several hundred meters away. Zhao Hanyan and Dong Junqing narrowed their eyes and stared at their counterparts. Those 4 people were 2 men and 2 women, but their composition was very odd. One was a tall and powerful man and a woman of imperious coldness. The other was even stranger. One was a reserved old man, whose grandeur was introverted yet was extremely powerful. However, what drew Zhao Hanyan and Dong Juanqing's attention was the woman beside the old man. That woman's face had a beautiful blue flower-shaped birthmark. Her other aspects, like her jade crown, her fair skin, the white clothes she wore, her eyes that were still as water, the person was as indifferent as a chrysanthemum. After she glanced at Zhao Hanyan and Dong Juanqing, she wordlessly lent an arm to support the old man. This woman was not a servant. Zhao Hanyan could feel that type of imposing air. Star General. Could that man be a Star Master? But they had never heard of a Star Master that was an old man. Zhao Hanyan was very confused. The contractors after the star duels began were all cultivators that had been born at the same time of the star duels. They were practically all very young. Even if there was a couple old people, there absolutely would be none that a Star General would care about because this meant that old person would be considerably mediocre. We were late a step. The longevity palace truly has been snatched away. Xiang Chenxing said in a low voice. Young master, there seems to be a sister in front of us. The domineering woman next to Xiang Chenxing naturally was his Star General, Little Conqueror Zhou Tong. Xiang Chenxing looked at Zhao Hanyan. His eyes narrowed. Zhao Hanyan's cultivation at this time had reached Super Void stage, so she was among the top ranks in the Azure Dragon territory. Li Yaigong slightly smiled. He subtly hinted to Xiang Chenxing. Xiang Chenxing and Zhou Zhiyun then did not hesitate to advance. Zhao Hanyan could discern that old man's background seemed very significant. Seeing they did not dare be careless as well, the corner of Dong Juanqing's lips curled into a sneer, and then she made preparations. Super Void Star Master? Zhao Hanyan saw clearly that her opponent's cultivation was the same level, shocking her. She had never seen this unfamiliar face. From whence did this genius pop out of? You must be the famous Ling Yan princess? Xiang Chenxing stiffly said. Zhao Hanyan coldly eyed him. Who are you? Your servant is Xiang Chenxing. Xiang Chenxing answered. Oh, what? You wish to star duel? Zhao Hanyan saw Xiang Chenxing's muscles were stretched taut, displaying his hostility. She thoughtfully smiled. Young master, leave this to Zhiyun. Zhiyun really wants to fight elder sister. Little Conqueror Zhou raised that flowing water-green depths spear, laughing. Without another word, Zhou Zhiyun launched her assault. The ranked 87th empty star Little Conqueror Zhou Tong is so savage? Dong Juanqing licked her lips. Then allow elder sister to properly teach you a lesson. Saying this, she raised her dragon phoenix yin-yang double spears and lunged forward. Xing Chenxing took no action, so Zhao Hanyan did not make any moves either. She completely disdained to lift a finger, but she stared at that free and easy old man and the indifferent woman. Compared to this impulsive and crude man, that old man made Zhao Hanyan even more wary. Boom! An enormous noise shot straight into the heavens. The entire earth violently shuddered, as if several hundred kilograms of explosives had detonated. A thick airflow skyrocketed. The Little Conqueror was aggressive. The flowing water-green depths spear brandished a heavy stab, and her figure was exceptionally swift. Her martial arts mastery made Dong Juanqing considerably surprised. This lesson will be even more interesting. The airflow danced in the sky. The mingling dust turned black, and then Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun abruptly appeared. Her figure was in midair, her hand gripping her spear, slashing downwards. Everything the green spear light simultaneously sprinkled began to take on the form of a green, warrior-like golem. 3. Dark rank spear technique. Green soldier / 5. That green warrior's spear light then pounced towards Dong Juanqing. The intense quaking very quickly ceased. Despite the pervasive dust, Zhao Hanyan still could notice that the place Dong Juanqing had been at had already become a hole that was 2 zhang in diameter. The inside was pitch black, its depth completely indiscernible. This first attack was more severe than she had imagined. It appeared this star general had trained extensively in her martial arts. Juanqing, if you lose, this princess will make you attend to Su Xing. 6. The dust gradually faded away. The scene in the middle also cleared up. Dong Junqing snorted. She jealously said, "Then if this general wins, can I enjoy princess?" Ever since Su Xing and Zhao Hanyan started a relationship, she had been starving for a while. The enormous hole was like a bottomless pit. The blackness was shocking to see, and it was very difficult to imagine what power this was to be able to create this terrifying destruction. Perhaps even Dong Junqing's full power strike could not do this. Before Zhou Zhiyun's complacent smile could last for too long, the corner of her mouth stiffened. She was shocked to see that her own yellow rank technique had been caught by Dong Junqing using her double spears. The beautiful dragon phoenix yin yang spears danced with a brilliant light. Impossible, she blocked the green soldier slash without even using a special move? Hey, is this your full power? Dong Junqing sneered. Then it is truly too weak. With a blink-like attack rhythm, Dong Junqing then arrived in front of Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun. Spear light flashed, flying. Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun felt her mouth. There was a slightly bitter taste. She was wounded? Can't be complacent. Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun was cold as absolute zero, suddenly launching. The green spear light wrapped around Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun, making her imposing appearance turn into a dignified warrior, her pigtails fluttering. Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun's every attack was sufficient to stir up a deathly gale. The Zhao Hanyan spectating from the side had no choice but to retreat so as to avoid being touched by the wind. Bang! The pitiful earth once again suffered devastation. Under Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun's full power attack, it instantly turned into myriad shards and fragments. A great amount of dust rose up. Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun's figure of a high-ranking general already charged out from within. The surrounding fine dust seemed to be stirred by a giant, invisible hand. Following her movements, they instantly became countless tiny points of light that madly pelted down towards Dong Junqing. Those tiny spear tips were like rain covering the entire space, unexpectedly letting out a sharp cry, just like shrieks from hell. They possessed a frightening penetration power. If one were to be covered by an attack like this, perhaps in a single moment, they would become honeycomb. This time, without any doubt, this was Zhou Zhiyun's dark technique. Green spear tip passing through. Thinking fast as lightning in an instant, that direct and overwhelming attack had already descended right in front of Dong Junqing. This attack style perhaps could make other star generals feel shock, but Dong Junqing was one of the 5 tiger generals. She completely did not place this in her eyes. Seeing such fierce power, she merely felt this was ridiculous. And Dong Junqing's counterattack method perhaps was even more exaggerated. A cold light flashed past her eyes. Facing the green light spears sweeping toward her, Dong Junqing surprisingly had no plans to evade. She slid, her figure slanted, her entire person already skating about as if on ice. Killing intent that appeared practically unavoidable was surprisingly completely evaded by Dong Junqing using unimaginable speed and direction. The steadfast star took a profound pace. Her body techniques were illusory. Do not underestimate me. Zhou Zhiyun was indignant. The power that the fine killing intent contained suddenly magnified. It far exceeded Dong Junqing's imagination, and there was a tiny attack that still smashed into her shoulder. But this completely was unable to impede Dong Junqing's pace. Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun did not taste the satisfaction of defeating her opponent. She was astonished to see that Dong Junqing had unbelievably broke through her series of obstructions and arrived in front of her instantly. A fully charged fist showed no mercy as it struck Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun's left shoulder. There was a scream, and Little Conqueror Zhou Zhiyun flew away. Though Dong Junqing wanted to pursue, this dark technique green spear tip passing through was indeed formidable. Add on that her Star Master's star energy was profound, displaying an abnormal ferocity. Following Zhou Zhiyun's yelp, a killing intent madly lifted and attacked Zhao Hanyan. Dong Junqing sneered. Her double spears came together and immediately swept. Before Zhou Zhiyun could see clearly, she spotted Dong Junqing suspended above her. The dragon and phoenix yin-yang swept down a large spearlight, falling like a storm. A scream. Yellow technique. Dragon Phoenix Yin Yang slash. Zhiyun. Xiang Qinxing was no longer able to stay calm. But before he could act, he was restricted by Zhao Hanyan's flying swords. The Ling Yan princess indifferently said, "Little bandit, it is best you do not act like a hero." The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords suddenly twisted. Xiang Qinxing's whole body stiffened. His skin was like gold, hard as iron. True spirit flying swords slashed in front of him, letting out metallic clangs that surprisingly were not ineffective. Zhao Hanyan's eyebrows rose, showing curiosity. The Ling Yan princess once again pointed. She had inherited Dong Juanqing's innate skill double swords. This innate skill could allow flying swords to manifest in double the number for a short time. The 72 heavenly outer void flying immortal swords suddenly emerged, altogether becoming 144 top-notch flying swords. Zhao Hanyan chanted. A sword array took shape, once again entangling Xiang Qinxing. In the blink of an eye, this rigid man fell into the middle of the sword array. Zhao Hanyan urged her sword chant to kill Xiang Qinxing. Furthermore, under steadfast star Dong Juanqing's yellow technique Yin Yang cross / little conqueror Zhou Zhiyun resisted. The empty star shouted furiously, and a second pair of pupils opened in her own. This was her innate skill, layered pupils, a shocking development. Layered pupils, that innate skill that purportedly inherits the battle experience of previous generations' star generals and can substantially increase realm? Dong Juanqing was curious, apparently very familiar. The earthly star little sister in front of her raised her realm to 10,000 techniques. Upon using layered pupils, Dong Juanqing did not dare slight her. Then Juanqing shall properly teach you a lesson. The corner of Dong Juanqing's lips rose. She then held her double spears in reverse grip and suddenly leapt towards her opponent, her expression full of strictness. "Elder sister, don't die." Zhou Zhiyun laughed. She opposed the spear light that dropped from the sky. The flowing water-green depths spear raised a red light towards the sky. The instant their weapons clashed, countless blinding sparks sprayed. Slipping past one another, the two once again sunk into a battle. However, this time was somewhat different. Dong Juanqing was not as indifferent and heedless as before. Rather, she ran along with her dancing double spears, launching a continuous assault at high speed. It was very difficult to imagine how swift the steadfast star's speed was. The dragon and phoenix Yin Yang spear seemed to be one with her, each maneuver deadly. In a direct confrontation, the attack frequency of either side in a high-speed battle would greatly decline, and the only thing needed was for running footwork. The double spear's use could alternate to firmly hold an advantage over the opponent, allowing her to fully display all her power. Zhou Zhiyun's flowing water-green depths lost the spear distance advantage to this. Then, she was brought along at high speed by Dong Juanqing, again losing her position. Little Conqueror's face became very unsightly. She hesitated to prepare to mount her star beast for assistance when at this moment, Dong Juanqing stopped. Her double spears came together, and two killing intents shot out of the dragon and phoenix Yin Yang spear to entangle Zhou Zhiyun. Dong Juanqing took advantage of this to instantly bring the dragon and phoenix Yin Yang spears before her, and the double spears heavily stabbed. Dark technique. Luan Phoenix cry, dragon slaying cave. Zhou Zhiyun shouted, and her abdomen was pierced by the double spears. This Zhou Zhiyun was worthy of being called an extremely high-realm earthly star general. Even so, she still raised her spear and flew backwards, breaking away from the double spears. Dong Juanqing clicked her tongue. Before Zhou Zhiyun could take a breath, chills suddenly ran down her back. Out of the corner of her eye, the 72 outer void flying immortals' swords took a graceful arc that already had calculated her trajectory. The flying swords flocked up. Zhou Zhiyun had lost the initiative, and she was completely powerless as she immediately was dispatched into the star next. Zhao Hanyan's lips curled. Her hand pointed. The 72 outer void flying immortals' swords spiraled around him. Xiang Qinxing's head hurt. He broke free of the sword array. This man was practically like a monster. Zhao Hanyan noticed that her flying swords were surprisingly unable to kill him. Interesting. Jiyun. Xiang Qinxing saw that Zhou Jiyun had been slain by coordinated teamwork, and he burned with fury. Does the little bandit believe he can play the hero by being angry? Dong Junqing rushed over, gripping her double spears. She actually thought of testing whether it was this man's golden body or her 4-star destined weapon that was stronger. Xiang Qinxing pupils widened, changed color, and he instantly explosively let out a powerful fury. It shook Zhao Hanyan and Dong Junqing several steps back. This man's cultivation in that instant had surprisingly seemed to advance several levels. Demon Chi? Zhao Hanyan instantly caught whiff of a demonic presence. Qinxing. A calm voice. Xiang Qinxing's fury quelled in a split second. The man recovered his composure and retreated to that old man's side. Grandfather Li's hand held a paper fan, gently fanning himself. Though his face wore an old man's benevolent smile, Zhao Hanyan felt only unease no matter how she looked at him. The Ling Yen princess retracted her scorn. Compared to the man just now, this old man before her that she completely could not see through was even more worthy of her fear. Tai Sui. Xiang Qinxing was a bit bitter. No matter, you are not her opponent. Grandfather Li indifferently said. The implication was that even if he was to use his true body, he would only be dispatched by the Ling Yen princess. Xiang Qinxing's expression was gloomy. He could not help but concede on this irritating fact. To have self-awareness is best. You ought to make your move. This princess actually wishes to see. Zhao Hanyan disdainfully glanced at him. The old man smiled. His grin made Zhao Hanyan very uncomfortable. There was no arrogance or contempt, but that tranquility made Zhao Hanyan very uncomfortable. That was a sort that seemed outside of her sight, not the grin of someone that was her opponent. You are not this old man's opponent either. Grandfather Li said. So old yet talking so big is certainly not good. Zhao Hanyan pointed her finger. The outer void flying immortal swords immediately attacked, yet upon seeing that old man gently shake that paper fan, the 72 outer void flying immortal swords seemed to be constrained by invisible strings, firmly trapped in that old man's surroundings and struggling. Arcs of lightning glitter on the swords, and Zhao Hanyan put all of her strength to releasing her divine intent control. Beads of sweat slid down her head. Grandfather Li coldly smiled. When Dong Junqing saw that Hanyan had been trapped, she suddenly was enraged. She raised her spear and flew. Old but not dead, take this. The calm as a dry well Zijin next to the old man raised her brow and suddenly vanished. Ha! Dong Junqing was shocked. Suddenly, she saw that woman had instantly changed orientation like a phantom. She flashed over, and in several movements, she was in front of Dong Junqing. The steadfast star had not expected her speed to be so abnormal. She was just about to block with her double spears. But an even faster shadow seemed to leap out from the woman's slender white finger and then vanish again. Dong Junqing's throat froze. Her whole body was ice cold. How can this be? Dong Junqing was lifeless. Zijin flew behind Dong Junqing. The entire process was no longer than the blink of an eye, and even Zhao Hanyan did not see clearly what move she made. Then her head hurt, and her complexion paled. It is you. Dong Junqing covered her throat. Blood spilled between her fingers. The steadfast star glanced at Zhao Hanyan. Princess, hurry and run. She suddenly pounced on Zijin. Zijin's long hair fluttered, as if it was a waterfall parting. The woman was calm as a flower. Her body prostrated, and her right arm stretched. A shadow was already in her hand. The pouncing Dong Junqing suddenly vanished without a trace, entering the star nest. Junqing. Zhao Hanyan cried out in pain, incapable of believing that Dong Junqing would surprisingly be defeated instantly in one strike. Looking again at that woman, beneath her calm as water appearance was a fully terrifying presence like that of a beast. You are, Zhao Hanyan grit her teeth. Just as she was about to finish speaking, at this moment, a purple array suddenly activated beneath her feet. This array was flooded with strange characters, and the inside had a bizarre demon beast-like pattern. Countless arcs of purple electricity shot out of the array. These purple lights were not harmful at all, but Zhao Hanyan immediately felt that the surrounding space had been interfered with by this electricity, incapable of opening. To think of escaping from under this old man's lightning flash thunder barrier, that will have to depend on how powerful you are. Grandfather Li gently fanned himself. This magic was clearly his doing. That old man just now had been preparing this magic all along. Zhao Hanyan's heart was jolted. This trick, even in all of the Azure Dragon territory, she had never heard of it before. Just what was the background of this old geezer? Little girl, it is best if you die here. Grandfather Li looked at Zhao Hanyan. Zhao Hanyan forced herself to keep aware of time. A super void force burst forth, but the lightning flash thunder barrier immediately changed colors, obstructing Zhao Hanyan. Zijin slowly walked towards Zhao Hanyan. If this princess dies, then this princess man will certainly be very troubled. Zhao Hanyan sneered. Oh, the Ling Yan princess has a man now, does she? Grandfather Li smiled. Zhao Hanyan shot him an ice-cold glare. She sneered, and a purple jade pendant appeared in her hand. It cracked and purple vapors spilled out. Grandfather Li's fanning motion immediately accelerated when he saw this. An explosion of thunder dropped from the sky and smashed heavily onto Zhao Hanyan. The Ling Yan princess screamed, suffering immensely. Zijin instantly accelerated. With several bounds, she was in front of her. She pulled her right hand back, suddenly drawing a black sword shadow. The purple chi ripped. Zhao Hanyan suddenly vanished, with no trace of her detectable in 100 li. This is the purple star jade pendant? Grandfather Li laughed. To be even capable of breaking this old man's lightning flash thunder barrier, Maiden Mountain is truly impressive. What a pity that grandfather used the lightning flash thunder barrier and still allowed Princess Ling Yan to escape. Xiang Chenxing said in a low voice. She received this old man's Azure Life 9 turns Thunder Dipper 3 and is heavily injured, her cultivation greatly debilitated. For the time being, we need not worry about her. Grandfather Li laughed. It seems the star duels still are a bit interesting. The Ling Yan princess was the Azure Dragon territory's top-notch star master. Therefore, Grandfather Li wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to first kill of Zhao Hanyan in a single stroke. However, he did not expect that she would have the purple star outlaw Liangshan jade pendant. Let us go. Grandfather Li's fan fluttered. He stepped into a cloud of rolling thunder and immediately vanished from this place. Su Xing, currently in the Immortals' abode, being freshened up by his wives. He was preparing clothes to make ready for his participation in Liangshan's Crystal Dragon Palace treasure banquet. Just at this moment, an intense pain racked his body. His organs seemed to tear apart, and Su Xing grabbed onto the corner of the table in order to barely stand up. Young lord. Dear husband. The crowd of girls each called out. Each and every one of them wore a face of concern as they watched Su Xing. I'm okay. That instant of heart-wrenching pain seemed to last a century. Su Xing's whole body was already cold, and he powerlessly panted. Young lord, what happened? Wu Xinjie asked with grave concern. It seems a certain kind of contract is exhibiting its function. Su Xing activated heart-like mirror and slowly calmed his breathing. The ladies looked at each other in dismay. Each of them showed worried expressions. It shouldn't be Chai Ling, don't tell me something happened to Han Yan? Su Xing's mind was stopped up with a huge boulder, somewhat oppressive. His original happy mood and expectation of the treasure banquet instantly vanished into thin air. He saw that his wives were unhappy like him. Su Xing shook his head and once again adjusted his mood. Don't worry too much. Zhao Hanyan should be fine. The intertwined branches only reacted for a moment just now. Maybe Zhao Hanyan ingested some medicine. Wu Xinjie consoled him. Well said. Now that the Ling Yan princess is the Azure Dragon territory's #1 cultivator, no one can handle her. Will she also participate in the treasure banquet? Hun Yangzi asked. Su Xing nodded. Then immediately go to the treasure banquet, and we will know. 3 days afterwards. The Azure Dragon territory East Sea. The normally tranquil ocean was currently thronging with escape lights. Every sort of strange flight magic weapon gathered together over the East Sea, from soaring clouds and mist to flying beasts, from naval battleships to sea monsters, there was everything. Even the great Liang dynasty's purple cloud east approaches could not compare to such a spectacular sight. Innumerable cultivators rushed over from every direction of Liangshan continent. In the surroundings of the East Sea were several hundred pavilions. These pavilions were not markets at all. They were specially prepared for those cultivators who were unable to go to the East Sea. Even if some cultivators were unable to enter the East Sea, they could still reap plenty of benefits on the outside. Just that dazzling, fantastical treasure alone was enough to be a feast for the eyes. These pavilions specially sold a few water escape pearls, water avoidance talismans, water barrier talismans, and more for qualified cultivators to buy. On this day, a magnificent dragon boat rode the heavens. That dragon boat was more than 100 meters long, and it was carved with dragons and phoenixes, engraved with cryptic talisman script, magic circles layered together. In particular was that as the dragon boat traversed the sky, underneath it sparkled with stars like a galaxy, extremely dazzling. Even several of the great sex arrays could not compare. That dragon boat circled around in the sky, and then it directly spiraled downwards, ignoring the shocked gazes of everyone. Upon touching the sea's surface, there was immediately a wave, a river of stars. Is that a heavenly spirit astral treasure? Never heard of it. It looks to be very powerful. Which sect has so much capital? Even the most high paths, straight into clear skies, completely cannot compare. Could it be the great Liang's imperial family or the great Circle Castle's noble star? Everyone chatted. The greatest interest of these cultivators that were unable to enter the ocean depths was to look for clues from their previous position every time a sect arrived, and they never grew tired of the gossip. This was considered some delight. That dragon boat was the Heavenly River Star riding boat, and its owner was naturally Su Xing. Su Xing stood on the deck with his arms crossed. The Heavenly River Star riding boat possessed multiple defensive barriers. It was impervious to water and flame, and an instant later, the star riding boat already dove several thousand li beneath the East Sea. Lin Yingmei stood beside him, not uttering a word. In the silent atmosphere, they heard only the whoosh of water in the surroundings. In the boundless depths, after a black tide, the star riding boat suddenly stopped. A wave barrier opened. Su Xing took out the crystal token of the treasure banquet that Long Nu gave him. The token moved in the water. The barrier opened, and the star riding boat melded into the barrier. Then, countless water lights shot back. Wu Xinjie and the other girls left the hold in succession. Following the disappearance of the light, everything in front of them suddenly became clear. The scene in front of them suddenly made the silent Su Xing and others astonished. What lay before them was a magnificent sight. Large crystal palaces were continuous and unending, just like a mountain range spread out along the entire East Sea's seabed. The tallest palace among them seemed to rise up out of the abyss. Coral was piled up, with glittering pearls and every sort priceless treasure and gem glinting. Countless cultivators shuttled back and forth through the palaces. The seawater outside the palace bubbled up, yet the crowd inside the giant palace was no stained by water at all. They were cleaner than on the surface. Upon closer inspection, these continuous palaces astonishingly were like a giant prostrate dragon. This was the renowned Crystal Palace of Liangshan Continent's 4 territories. This palace was named because this palace used blue wave essence crystal in its construction. The ones in command of this palace was the Long clan, thus, it received the name Crystal Dragon Palace. In actuality, rather than saw it was a sect, it was more accurate to say they were deeply rooted, entangled generational family. How incredible! Su Xing already had been impressed by every kind of Liangshan Continent's wonders. He had even thought that he was already calm as water. Today when he saw the Crystal Dragon Palace's towering majesty, he still sucked in a breath. The Crystal Dragon Palace's construction in this fashion was already awe-inspiring. What made Su Xing even more astonished was that the construction was surprisingly at a depth of 10,000 zhang. Although the East Sea was warm, Normal cultivators were completely unable to enter or leave the ocean territory. This barrier is very powerful. Tang Lianxin issued her opinion. Compared to luxurious palaces, the solitary star cared more about the magic weapon that was obstructing the 10,000 fathoms of seawater. Reportedly, the Crystal Dragon Palace has passed down a prehistoric spirit treasure, connecting heaven-ocean settling pearl. This treasure is extremely exceptional. It can create an astral space. Wu Xinjie muttered. Su Xing looked. As expected, several corners of the large Crystal Dragon Palace had resplendent flickering lights. It appeared that was the power of the connecting heaven-sea settling pearl. If the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearl is so powerful, would they give it to Long Nu to participate in the star duels? Su Xing asked. There are a total of 24 connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls, but to obstruct the water, the Crystal Dragon Palace requires at least 12, and this treasure is very taxing on magic energy. A star master can control it but with great difficulty. She should not have one. Wu Xinjie analyzed. After the 3 heavenly books, the majority of star masters' sects will confer spirit treasures in return for ascending Maiden Mountain. Even if Long Nu used one, it would only be in these months. Su Xing thought so as well. There was nothing to worry about. Then let us see this treasure banquet. Treasure banquet. The Crystal Dragon Palace went as far as being Liangshan Continent's feast. Altogether, it was held for 7 days and 7 nights. The treasure banquet was split into 4 ranks based on cultivation, heaven, earth, dark, and yellow. Each level had its own auction house and market. The Crystal Dragon Palace was split into 4 sectors: east, west, south, and north. There were over 10,000 imperial palaces. Let alone the Crystal Dragon Palace's enormity, it was in fact more like a giant underwater city. 90% of the imperial palaces were related to peddling. Just the number of vendor booths exceeded 30,000. These shops mostly were fixed in the Crystal Dragon Palace year-round, and when the treasure banquet began, the vendor booths would reach millions with several transactions. It could be said that the entire Liangshan continent's cultivators were all here. So long as Liangshan continent possessed it, they practically could find it. And other than the popularity that accumulated over several thousand years, another reason the Crystal Dragon Palace could have such great rallying power was that its unique position was crucial. The Crystal Dragon Palace was situated at the bottom of the Eastern Sea, used blue wave essence crystal in its construction, making the entire sea area fill with a pure essence chi. If this level of essence chi was used to nurture a magic weapon, cultivate spirit grass, forge an artifact, or cultivate a cultivation method, they would all be exceptional. Not only could cultivators that set up in this place reap profits, all of the goods they peddled would become even more pure. No one would miss this. What was most interesting in the treasure banquet was the Treasure Grand Banquet that happened after the 7 days and nights. The Crystal Dragon Palace would specially bring out magic treasures and spirit medicines that would make any cultivator moved for the auction. At that time, only supervoid cultivators could enter. Life-extending flat peaches, 1,000-year Nuwa tears, 4-symbol seal, and other crazy spirit medicines, spirit grasses, and spirit treasures had appeared in past treasure banquets. To be able to attract countless cultivators and to be able to make top-notch supervoid cultivators awed, the treasure banquet had to be extravagant. This Crystal Dragon Palace is honestly special. Gazing at this sea of people in the market, Su Xing was impressed. The Kagoshima Market Square and Black Turtle Territory Market Square he visited in the past were practically insignificant and not worth a mention in comparison. However, that the Crystal Dragon Palace could be so generous made Su Xing very surprised. He had even thought the reason that sects were powerful was by relying on every sort spirit medicine and magic weapon. There was surprisingly a sect that would auction them off. Su Xing did not feel the Crystal Dragon Palace was in need of money. In his perspective, this was like a sort of covert announcement of its position. Using this kind of method could bring stability, making the Azure Dragon territory highly esteemed. Their business ability was formidable. Stowing away the Heavenly River Star riding boat, everyone landed on the ground. Countless cultivators immediately threw over their envious expressions. Su Xing was already accustomed to this, no longer seeing this as strange. Anyone bringing about a dozen girls that were as beautiful as fairies definitely would attract attention, let alone that these girls who were as beautiful as fairies were actually star generals. The Crystal Dragon Palace was very large. For the sake of maintaining order, the barrier within forbade the use of flying swords. Of course, supervoid cultivators that could hover were ambivalent about this. Although Su Xing had ascended into supervoid, he did not have interest. He first strolled around the Crystal Dragon Palace with all of the girls. "Are we separating for the time being?" Wu Xinjie suggested. There was no danger within the Crystal Dragon Palace anyways, so this was a good opportunity to separate their operations. They could procure the materials they each required, and when the time came for the treasure banquet to begin, they would then regroup. Su Xing thought so as well. This was perfect for saving time. Wu Xiao and Hua Wanyue bade farewell to Su Xing first, and then they flew towards the other areas. After Shiyu parted, then Insuan and Tang Lianxing followed Hunyangzi and Yan Yizhen to other places. All of the girls understood that Su Xing's time currently was very short. They naturally did not want to tarry. Very quickly, the beauties that remained at Su Xing's side were Wu Xinjie, Lining Mei, Bai Yutang, Gong Sun Huang, Zhang Yuqi, and Shi Yuan. "This young lady shall go help Su Xing inquire information for now." Shi Yuan chuckled. "Yuaner, do you want Xinjie to come with you?" Su Xing asked. Shi Yuan shook her head like a rattledrum. "No need, this place is so big, this young lady won't wander off." The thief star's eyes darted around. She appeared quite familiar with markets thronging with people. Wu Xinjie just smiled and reminded her to not fool around. However, for safety's sake, they still gave her a 1,000-li sound transmission talisman. Shi Yuan nodded, giggled, and then she departed. "Young Su, then Yuqi shall go look around. Tang Tang, don't you need to buy spirit grass for brewing? Wanna go with big sister?" Zhang Yuqi facetiously winked. Then she asked the Bai Yutang hugged against Su Xing's chest. The rat star widened her gleaming eyes. She raised her head to ask Papa. "Then you to be careful." Su Xing said. "Relax. This isn't the first time that Yuqi was alone, hee. Zhang Yuqi winked, then held on to Bai Yutang. Bai Yutang was somewhat reluctant to part and waved her little hand. "Do you have anything you want to do?" Su Xing asked. "Your servant will not leave, young master." Lining Mei's reply was within expectations. Gong Sun Huang also did not have interest. Sitting on Su Xing's shoulder was probably the little lowly's most favorite hobby. Since the other sisters are here, Xinjie shall also remain at young lord's side. Wu Xinjie giggled. Passing by several halls, they came to the front gate of a plaza. The crowd gathered in the plaza jostled about, letting out noisy voices. The top of this year's 10 great spirit treasures is still the supreme ultimate diagram? Who knows who possesses this supreme ultimate diagram now? It never changes. Is it not in the most high path's hands? Idiot, that has already changed. Wow, fellow Han's spirit slashing sword surprisingly broke into rank 98th on the spirit ceiling list. Impressive. Su Xing circled around. He lifted his head and saw an enormous signboard. Upon it was a scroll spread open. On that scroll were hovering letters, constantly changing. Spirit ceiling list. Wu Xinjie was astonished. Liangshan continent's treasures were innumerable. If it could be said which could be called the absolute in all of Liangshan, then the spirit ceiling list was entirely worthy. This treasure was born in immemorial prehistory. That was an era with extremely abundant primordial spiritual power. In that era, every flower, grass, tree, and log that could be seen was a top-notch material for magic weapon forging, and in those times, every magic weapon that was born naturally was outstanding, far superior to any magic weapon today. Everyone called it prehistoric spirit treasure. The spirit ceiling list was not like most prehistoric spirit treasures that possessed might or magic energy that could overturn the world, but it was now nevertheless the Crystal Dragon Palace's symbol, representing a true treasure. The reason was very simple. The spirit sealing list possessed the ability to perceive prehistoric spirit energy. It could accurately analyze each and every treasure forged of an immemorial prehistoric material, so long as the cultivator released the treasure's divine intent. The spirit sealing list analyzed the might of the magic weapon based on material, its master's magic energy, skill, and other parameters, giving the prehistoric spirit treasure a ranking. If it was to publish something that could make everyone clamor about, then rankings absolutely were a favorite subject. The spirit sealing list was perfectly able to rank all of the spirit treasures it reacted to. Then, it would display based on the most powerful 100. Currently, the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great spirit treasures originated from this. It could be said that the magic weapons the spirit sealing list ranked were considerably high-ranking across all of Liangshan continent. Of course, this ranking was not so wholly acknowledged. In fact, the life-cast magic weapons that many great cultivators forged were far more powerful than a prehistoric spirit treasure, and some cultivators did not necessarily allow their own magic weapons to enter the spirit sealing list. Otherwise, some cultivators themselves had insufficient magic energy, thus, this made the prehistoric spirit treasure falter greatly in rank for the spirit sealing list. But regardless of what was said, the spirit sealing list was one of the Crystal Dragon Palace's symbols to appeal to the masses. Su Xing glanced curiously at it. Ranked at the very top was the Supreme Ultimate Diagram, naturally. Ever since the spirit sealing list analyzed the Supreme Ultimate Diagram, its rank has never changed. Wu Xinjie said. Su Xing recalled words that Xiyu had once said. She had met with the attack of the Purple Firmament Immortal Palace's Star Master. The opponent used the Supreme Ultimate Diagram, easily erasing and capturing the Black Turtle Seal. The Black Turtle Seal was a powerful prehistoric spirit treasure, but it had surprisingly been taken in one blow by the Supreme Ultimate Diagram. It really was awesome, as expected in name and reality. Su Xing had no choice but to admit it. The Supreme Ultimate Diagram, huh? Would your highness like to try? Little Huang asked. Su Xing saw many cultivators were all restlessly placing their own magic weapons into the spirit sealing list, to leave their mark in the first 100. However, most of them showed expressions of disappointment. That spirit sealing list did not change at all. Young Lord's 5 Dragons Lantern ought to also be a prehistoric spirit treasure that can be tested. Su Xing agreed. He had many spirit treasures with him, and he wanted to see just how strong they were. Eyeing the spirit sealing scroll, he sent in the divine intent of the Empress 2 Earth Book magic weapon. The spirit sealing list shuddered. As if rippling with a weak wave, the characters slowly changed. There has been a change. The spirit sealing list has a change. Quickly come look. Everyone watched as all of the characters on the spirit sealing list surprisingly were completely changed, and they were suddenly shocked. They stared without blinking at the spirit sealing list. The characters changed. The spirit sealing list had the name of a new spirit treasure. Second place, Empress 2 Earth Book. The original number 2, 3 Clarity's banner, immediately fell 1 place in rank. The crowd suddenly erupted into a furor. Unbelievable, bone-chilling screams rose and fell in succession, as if they were more shocked than about the spirit treasures they possessed. Heavens! The spirit sealing list has surprisingly displayed a new prehistoric spirit treasure. Are my eyes deceiving me? Awesome, to unexpectedly bring the 3 Clarity's banner down to second. That is but the protective magic weapon of the most high path's strongest ancestral master. Impossible! What sort of spirit treasure is this Empress 2 Earth Book? Never heard of it. Could it be like the 5 Spirits Heavenly Books? Everyone howled wildly. Countless cultivators were drawn over like a swarm of bees. For the spirit sealing list to show a new prehistoric spirit treasure was something that had not happened in a few hundred years. What was even more important was that this new prehistoric spirit treasure surprisingly exceeded the 3 Clarity's banner as number 2. All of the cultivators trembled, each of them looking at one another. They hoped to be able to find that cultivator, but they immediately recalled that to be able to make the prehistoric spirit treasure immediately enter second place, that cultivator must be at least super void cultivation. Upon thinking that they had been noted by a supervoid cultivator, those cultivators immediately sobered up and did not dare look any further. However, the surprise of those cultivators had yet to end. A moment later, the spirit sealing list's aura changed once again, and the rankings flashed once more. The second place Empress 2 Earth book from just now promptly became third place. In second place appeared a new prehistoric spirit treasure, 5 dragons colored glass lantern. This time, everyone was scared stiff, not daring to even breathe. Unexpectedly, it was another prehistoric spirit treasure they had never seen before. Is this real? It looks like the Most High Path has truly declined. I never expected that the 3 Clarities banner would become number 4. The Crystal Dragon Palace suddenly boiled over. The cultivators were all shouting, emotionally blabbering nonsense to draw their friends over to take a look. Even the 4 symbols seal that quietly rose to 5th place was not a concern. Some of the supercluster ancestors and supervoid cultivators were shocked into seeking that adept, to look for clues from the gaze of that cultivator. Fuck, a cultivator with such powerful great spirit treasures would be very dangerous in a future encounter. These cultivators could not find the person. The spirit sealing list was located in the center of the Crystal Dragon Palace's main hall. It was visible from every direction and from each area. Any cultivator could send in their divine intent. Who knew whether or not that cultivator was 1,000 meters away? However, they did not expect the person in question currently was still here, perplexed. Su Xing did not expect the 5 Dragons Lantern and the Empress 2 Earth book to be formidable, to unexpectedly rank number 2 and 3 on the spirit sealing list. However, this made clear that the Supreme Ultimate diagram was indeed awe-inspiring. Su Xing certainly knew how powerful the 5 Dragons Lantern and the Earth book were. Even so, they were still unable to surpass the Supreme Ultimate diagram. But it's really strange. This golden magnetic divine peak completely lacked any reaction. Isn't it a prehistoric spirit treasure? Su Xing was confused. He had sent in the golden magnetic divine peak's divine intent. This golden magnetic divine peak had been barely resuscitated by Tang Lianxin, and Su Xing's divine intent could barely control it. But the odd thing was that the spirit-sealing divine peak completely did not react. But Su Xing had seen the scene of Great Saint Starkiller using the golden magnetic divine peak. He naturally knew this treasure was not to be outdone by the 5 Dragons Lantern, and it was probably even stronger than the lantern. If it was not constructed from a prehistoric spirit treasure, it absolutely could not be so powerful. Weird. Su Xing did not ponder any more about it. Young lord, let us go look at other places. Wu Xinjie giggled. The spirit sealing list matter made her very satisfied. Northern darkness as Fish's face was tranquil as he walked among the crowd. Compared to the scene normally in the Most High Path, things were currently much more cheerless. Even Northern darkness as Fish did not bring out any extravagance. Following Northern darkness as Fish were only some men. Now that the Most High Path suffered a disastrous blow, all of the Azure Dragon territories cultivators knew. Of the 4 supervoid ancestral masters, they could be said to have dwindled until only Northern darkness as Fish was left. However, even an emaciated camel was larger than a horse. The Most High Path's supercluster ancestors were still chief in power among the 10 great sects, so no one dared to look down on them. Bing Qingxian and Xie Zhenyuan were among them. The former's cultivation appeared to be supercluster peak while Xie Zhenyuan's had already reached supervoid early stage. His talent was indeed number 1 in Liangshan, however, Xie Zhenyuan did not appear haughty at all. Ho Rulin clung to the hem of his shirt, the pair walking nearby, the appearance of taking a stroll. Bing Qingxian still appeared honest and reliable. No one knew what his heart was actually thinking of. Why is there such noise up ahead? Bing Qingxian wrinkled his brow. The 2 disciples very quickly announced their arrival. They looked at each other in dismay, as if they were somewhat embarrassed to speak. Just what has happened? When have the disciples of the Most High Path ever needed to be overcautious, so apprehensive? Northern darkness has Fish faintly said. Disciple should die. The Most High Path's disciples promptly said. 2 new prehistoric spirit treasures have appeared on the spirit sealing list. They have lowered the 3 clarities banner in rank. What? Several supercluster ancestors were stunned. Northern Darkness has fish merely let out an unsurprised, "Oh." Bing Qingxian and Xie Zhenyuan appeared very collected. Explain in detail. After hearing the disciples' information, Northern Darkness has fish smiled. The 5 Dragons Lantern, the Earth Book, Those cultivators are reckless, to unexpectedly dare say our most high path is in decline. No need to mind them. The 3 Clarities banner was tested by me 50 years ago. It is inevitable that there would be a super void cultivator today that could surpass it. Northern Darkness has fish faintly smiled. He gazed at the distant spirit sealing list. He pointed a finger, imbuing it with divine intent. The crowd once again let out an astonished gasp. Clearly, there was a new ranking. Oh, the 3 Clarities banner has overtaken the Empress 2 Earth Book for number 3. The Spirit Sealing List Magic Weapon Competition is so wonderful. As expected, the Most High Path's Ancestral Master has come. Their voices turned very quiet. Northern Darkness has Fish's self-confident smile somewhat stiffened. His expression slightly sunk, as if he did not dare believe his Super Void Peak's 3 Clarities banner was unable to best the trifling 5 Dragons Lantern. It must be because the spirit sealing list has degraded over the years. Northern Darkness has fish icily glanced at him. He flung his sleeve, not saying anything more. The 4-symbol seal has also showed changes. It appears from this that the purple thunder monster has indeed come. You are to pay attention. Northern Darkness has fish coldly ordered. Slight haze flashed across Bing Qingshuan's eyes. Not long after the Most High Path left, 2 women and a man floated to the Crystal Dragon Palace. One was white from head to toe, almost like ice or snow. The other was reticent, her expression oddly emotionless. Besides these 2 women were also 2 young girls following along. The White Tiger Territory's prehistoric materials are countless. These insignificant prehistoric spirit treasures are enough to make humans go wild. They truly are short-sighted. Shurjiao Ying disdainfully smiled. The life-cast magic weapons we forged using prehistoric materials can easily surpass them. Han Bing and Xian Lao did not respond. The former was cold as ice, uninterested. The latter had a manner that was completely indifferent. Shurjiao Ying again snorted. Since you are so confident, add your own magic weapon to the spirit sealing list. Ling Feishue said in derision. Why not? Shurjiao Ying's hand pointed. A ray of divine intent entered the spirit sealing list. The life-cast magic weapon he thought was grand was Azure Dragon Execution Wood. 2, however, Shurjiao Ying's expression immediately became unsightly. His magic weapon unexpectedly did not break into the top 10. Ling Feishue's unrestrained laughter made Shurjiao Ying feel even more unsightly. Do not cause trouble. Grandfather said to not allow our whereabouts to be exposed. Forget this spirit sealing list's ability to rank, it could let the Azure Dragon Territory know other information. Han Bing coldly said. However, she only said it now at this time. Before, it was clear she also wanted to see a joke at Shurjiao Ying's expense. Shurjiao Ying had nothing to say. However, 19th is not bad. That it will not attract attention is worthy of relief. The corner of Han Bing's mouth rose. These words sounded somehow grating to Shurjiao Ying. Legend says that the Crystal Dragon Palace has a double 7 to auction. Is this true? Ling Feishue curiously asked. She counted on her fingers. Han Bing has the twin stars button and can contract 2 stars. If you have the double 7, then could you not break the rules and contract 3 stars? Ling Feishue's eyes glinted. Break the rules? Did we not already hear about some purple thunder monster that broke the rules when we arrived in the Azure Dragon Territory? Shurjiao Ying sneered. Grandfather has already gone to investigate. We are to quietly look for other changes. Han Bing interrupted their conversation. At this time, the lanky woman XN Lao and her star general already left. Apparently, they had no interest in meddling with their discussion. Han Bing and Shurjio Ying followed along. The Crystal Dragon Palace's treasure banquet gathered Liangshan's first-rate cultivators and star masters. This was a perfect opportunity. Su Xing, Lin Yingmei and the others girls arrived at the 99th district. The treasure banquet was divided into 4 great districts: Heaven East, Earth West, Dark South, and Yellow North. Each of the great districts had numbers to designate the countless small districts, which also completely catalogued what was being sold. Dark South's 99th district was a larger district for flying sword refinement and trade. Su Xing knew that after the second overlord's trial ended, the third overlord would follow immediately, and frankly, it was due to luck that he passed the second overlord's trial. Who would have thought that a heaven rank would be so powerful? But regardless, there was a very high probability that the third overlord comprehended her heaven rank. However, to encounter a girl like Gongsun Zhuqing, Su Xing did not dare be certain. To survive as heaven rank technique, Su Xing had no chance. A star general on the other could use an earth rank to contend against an extreme realm. True Phoenix was the only thing able to battle against heaven rank. Among Su Xing's beauties, only Lin Yingmei's realm was the highest, having already reached extreme realm 5th stage. Nextly was Yen Yizhen's 3rd stage and Wu Xiao's 2nd stage, but to contest a heaven rank, a martial general's was possible. Perhaps the 3 of them working together still had a chance, but to face another magic energy star general was difficult to say then. Su Xing did not want to let himself burden them. Although his martial arts were increasingly superb, nearly chasing after a heavenly star, to face those top-notch martial generals, he was still a bit behind. Su Xing came to the Crystal Dragon Palace in hopes of seizing a chance at the treasure banquet to find material and information for his remaining water element sword and fire element sword, as well as that Sun Moon Stars Array 4 swords. To be able to forge them was even better, but if not, finding even the slightest trace was not bad either. The treasure banquet indeed made Su Xing expand his horizons. Cultivators from all walks of life were everywhere. Having gone through training these past few days, the super void cultivators he saw were more numerous than before. Su Xing was also super void, yet he was not so surprised. For the sake of this banquet, Su Xing had taken up a disguise. Due to Lin Yingmei and the others being star generals, the appearance-changing pill was no use, so they put their effort into their clothes. Each was draped in a gorgeous jacket, the collars drawn tall, able to obscure their complexions. Their inner garments were interlocked black and white, gilded beautifully. However, Lin Yingmei's head wore a hat. This hat was set low, hiding the rest of her face, but those hairs that were as thin as water matched the majestic star's unique cold, heroic air that still drew the gazes of many cultivators. Seeing that Su Xing was a super void cultivator on the surface, there actually was no scene of a second generation hitting on Lin Yingmei plotline. Su Xing walked near a flying sword vendor booth, full of interest as he sized up the booth's glinting goods. Liangshan Continent's flying swords were an absolute. If one was to speak of the number and kinds, no one knew. Many flying swords that were forged were ones he had never seen before. After looking around for half a day, only then did Su Xing discover a cruel fact. Perhaps no shop could help with his immemorial sword chant. Wu Xinjie and the others clearly did not care about this. As before, they browsed around with him. Not a moment later, they walked into a shop named Mountain of Flames. The flying swords here appeared astonishing. Every kind of oddly shaped weapon was found here. Originally, Su Xing had thought that his own heavenly abyss that were incomparably large counted as special. As it turned out, this place surprisingly had something larger, and some were even more over-exaggerated. The reason Su Xing entered the Mountain of Flames shop was because it sold some fire element flying swords. Seeing those blazing flying swords, Su Xing practically felt this was a thorny problem. They appeared formidable. Lin Yingmei held no interest at all for those flying swords. She only lowered her head, standing guard in the surroundings. Gongsun Huang's admiring gaze had settled the longest on a gracefully constructed flying sword. As for its abilities, she let out a sort of refusal to comment. It was no wonder the Star Maidens would scoff at the flying swords that ruled over Liangshan continent. The Star Maidens had their own, destined star weapons, a kind of ability that completely surpassed these flying swords. An auction of flying swords could not compare. Wu Xinjie actually was full of interest towards a few maps. Some of the maps recorded many materials, however, she occasionally shone some things on the maps, making the shopkeeper quite displeased. If it was not for her being a beautiful girl, he would already have chased her out. Xinjie, did you see something good? Lin Ningmei asked. With her gaze on maps of materials, she skimmed over the bookshelves. Finally, a fire-type jade strip drew Wu Xinjie's interest. This is the Vermilion Jian map, something a cultivator unexpectedly obtained. If your distinguished self wants to forge a top-notch flying sword, this Vermilion Jian map is absolutely important. The owner came to explain, his spittle splashing as he introduced it. Su Xing's fire element swords required the feathers of the divine bird, clinging heavenly Vermilion Jian. Hearing its name was actually to wish for death. Can we actually find it? Su Xing asked. This will depend on your distinguished self's luck, but the authenticity of this map absolutely can be guaranteed. The shopkeeper smiled as he replied. Every item the Crystal Dragon Palace sold was authentic. Su Xing actually was not afraid of his bluffing, but he did not know just what the Vermilion Jian map was. Furthermore, the shopkeeper had never shown it and was also unaware of what it was. This completely was dependent on luck. Perhaps it is an original document, or it could be an empty crack, or perhaps it is a nest. Of course, it could even be a spirit treasure. This depends on your distinguished self's luck. The owner said. Too interesting? Wu Xinjie narrowed her eyes. She carefully calculated. This jade strip was obscured, but it was carved with delicate and elaborate patterns. It seems we indeed must rely on luck. Wu Xinjie sneered. Has this young lady seen something? The shopkeeper's brows rose. Wu Xinjie paid him no mind. She threw it to Su Xing. I want this map. There was an icy yet fiery feeling of pain when the map landed in his palm. This young lady is truly generous, to not even ask for the price? The shopkeeper stroked his beard. He was not afraid that the customer would run. To be able to conduct business in the Crystal Dragon Palace, there was never any fear for something like this. How much? Su Xing asked. 180 million liang of gold. They are expensive. 180 million liang. Lin Ningmei's tone chilled. How can a map like this that relies on luck possibly be so expensive? If you do not want it, then please put it back. Leave it for its fated person. The shopkeeper hinted to the other customers gathered around. It seems we should properly discuss. Su Xing patted the shopkeeper's shoulder and chuckled. A kind of powerful pressure made the shopkeeper suddenly feel his goal of seeking a sky-high profit was apparently a mistake. Why spend so much money on this kind of map? Lin Ningmei looked at it all over and felt this was not worth it. Was it not something that depended on luck? Once used, it was gone. How could it compare to personally going to the White Tiger territory to search? And actually, this is not useful at all. Gong Sun Huang made a rare endorsement. That idiot owner surprisingly tried to extort Su Xing. Wu Xinjie giggled. This 180 Vermilion Jian map in the end dropped half in price because of his Super Void Cultivator status. Even in the Crystal Dragon Palace, a Super Void Cultivator still was a golden signboard. Of course, one reason was that this Vermilion Jian map relied on luck. To us who currently lack any outline, this Vermilion Jian map is certainly very useful. Wu Xinjie charmingly winked. See this jade strip pattern? On it is a very pure flame information. This means clinging fire, so it must be related to the clinging heavenly Vermilion Jian. Regardless, we will have a gain after we make Lianxin solve it. Su Xing thought so as well. They had no materials for a fire-type flying sword anyways, so 90 million was not so much. Then put it away. Next, we still have even more wonderful things. Su Xing chuckled. What? All of the girls were confused. They passed through several great districts. At this time, They arrived at another flight artifact district. The glittering flight magic weapons were blinding. This was an unbelievable wonderland of every kind of inconceivable model and function. No way, Wu Xinjie suddenly came to the realization of what Su Xing was doing. Does young lord want to buy these flight magic weapons? Do we not have the Heavenly River Star riding boat? The Heavenly River Star riding boat requires us to have a lot of people. Ordinarily, it's not convenient for you either. Su Xing wrapped an arm around Wu Xinjie's shoulder. How about it? I want to buy a few flight magic weapon materials to upgrade. Then I'll forge some for you all. Just in case. Sure. Wu Xinji nodded, not opposing. In the end, they came to the largest plaza. That place was the most famous place in all of the flight artifact district. The venue was already full of cultivators, and the display had a black, super cool war chariot. It was different from the dragon boat artifacts they saw before. The war chariot's body was very large, and according to reason, it ought to have a heavy feeling, yet it was precisely the opposite, giving them a kind of graceful feeling, much like a knight. Su Xing could not help but be interested. This chariot had an attack capability, perfectly in accordance with the thoughts he had in mind. Without thinking, Su Xing took this war chariot. Just when Su Xing was still buying in the Crystal Dragon Palace, outside the Eastern Sea, on a mountain several hundred li away, Gongsun Zhuqing and Yuan Xingliang currently stood on a mountaintop, pausing to gaze at something. Just at this moment, a yellow light from Maiden Mountain was already gradually drawing closer. Maiden Mountain had dispatched 7 lights. Each light represented one overlord, and each would arrive at different times following another. Gongsun Zhuqing and Yuan Xingliang returned their gazes from the Eastern Sea and looked to that yellow light in the sky. A moment later, the yellow light fell onto the mountain. After an enormous noise, it fell into the forest. The third overlord? Yuan Xingliang looked with interest at that pervasive smoke and dust. He and Gongsun Zhuqing glanced at each other, silent. 2 silhouettes slowly walked out of the dust. To meet the second overlord in such a manner is honestly a bit deplorable. A slightly disrespectful yet graceful voice. Those figures walked out of the dust, astonishingly revealing 2 beautiful women. The woman who spoke possessed a noble manner, undisciplined yet carrying a somewhat profound expression. She wore a pink rose-scented skin-tight gown. Her lower garment was a green, smoke silk flower skirt, and her waist used a golden thread tied into a large bowknot. The hair on her temples hung low, and a jasper libation cup hairpin was inserted into her hair. She revealed slender physique, seductive and beautiful. Yellow embroidered her green and pink smoke silk skirt that trailed along the ground. Her arms were covered in an unadorned green silk, and her wind bun had a flower stuck in. Her brows were delicate and wide, her green hair pure with a hint of spring. The age of the girl beside her appeared small. She had a face white as a goose egg, large rectangular eyes that looked lively about, pink cheeks and red lips. Her height was also very petite, a passive appearance. Others may not have known, but relying on his overlord's intuition, Yuan Xingliang immediately recognized the pair of girls before him as the third overlords, without doubt. So you came? I even thought that you ought to wait until our true spirits vanished. Yuan Xingliang stroked his chin, playfully grinning. And no thanks to you for that. Did your mission fail? The second overlord honestly looks cute to this fairy. The grand and indolent woman slightly smiled. She changed the topic. Because of this fairy had to appear. I shall introduce myself. This fairy is Xuanla Feifei. They all call me Fairy Xuanla. This is my little sister Wu Yu. Too. Fairy Xuanla introduced her. Yuan Xingliang saw they seemed to be very friendly, and he wanted to courteously introduce himself. He had just opened his mouth to speak when he was surprised that Fairy Xuanla would casually wave him off and smile. No need, your true name bears no significance towards this fairy. You are about to disappear forever, anyways. Gongsun Zhuqing's expression changed, and the pine-brand ancient sword appeared in her hand. This fairy informed you of her name only to let you know by whose hand you died. Fairy Xuanla's calm tone seemed like she was drinking water when she let these words fall. The listless Wu suddenly became a ferocious panther that pounced at Yuan Xingliang. In her hands appeared a pair of coldly glinting daggers. Xingliang, careful. Gongsun Zhuqing promptly cast a star magic. How stupid! Fairy Xuanla laughed and summoned her flying swords. Gongsun Zhuqing was taken aback. She suddenly noticed that a black, ice-cold figure had snuck over at some unknown time. A cold light directly scraped across her throat, and in her ears she still heard Fairy Xuanla's derisive voice. What star generals would disregard her own life to help her star master when he is attacked? Truly, this is an incorrigible instinct. Even the second overlord is merely so? Leisure star Gongsun Zhuqing in this instant instantly erupted with powerful force. The exhaustion in her eyes was swept away. Her reactions were absolutely fast, and the runestone bamboo viper in her hand shattered. Countless bamboo viper flying daggers filled the area. The Zhuqing stone was not very strong at all. As far as a star general was concerned, this could be completely overlooked, but several thousand bamboo viper daggers obstructed that shadow's sneak attack, which gave Gongsun Zhuqing a chance. Just as the leisure star was about to activate her Earth-rank star magic, her opponent let out a sinister sneer. The shadow abruptly sped up, breaking through the daggers. Immediately afterwards, a sharp blade whistled over. Gongsun Zhuqing used her Pinebrand ancient sword to block it. Her opponent's presence suddenly vanished and reappeared on her opposite side, quick as lightning. The enemy's first cut stabbed into Gongsun Zhuqing's shoulder. The blade tip burst with a power that shattered all of Gongsun Zhuqing's defenses. Apparently, this was dark rank? The second attack was even faster. As expected of the one who was number one in magic energy, Gongsun Zhuqing similarly activated a barrier to protect herself with even more speed, but the shadow's second slash surprisingly pierced through Gongsun Zhuqing's barrier. The second blade directly thrust into her chest. Gongsun Zhuqing's pupils shrunk. She suddenly saw clearly the face of the little sister in front of her. Pupils that were as pitch black as an abyss flowed with an Azura's malice, like a monster who had emerged from hell. Bye-bye. She heard the mournful dismissal of the little sister in front of her, and then a third stab wrapped in insufferably arrogant cold light completely ended Gongsun Zhuqing's reflections. This was third watch. The girl softly spat. But the sneak-attacking woman suddenly was in pain. She was knocked flying away into the air by a powerful force. Immediately after, countless flying swords descended, which were easily stopped by Fairy Xuanla's flying swords. Zhuqing. Yuan Xingliang made a heart-wrenching scream as he rushed for the Gongsun Zhuqing in front of him. His hands reached out, yet all he grasped was a few specks of light. Gongsun Zhuqing's true spirit dissipated. To be injured by a star master. The sneak-attacking woman lowered her posture, her slender legs spread open as she glared coldly at Yuan Xingliang. It appeared she wanted revenge. Just as she was about to slink away, she was stopped by Wuyu. Elder sister Huiyu, he is mine. Wuyu stood in front of him, springing forth. You! Yuan Xingliang controlled his blue splendid 8 treasure sword to activate Cetra of Heaven, boundless sword array. Green bamboo enveloped the mountain, and Wuyu's double daggers came together and caught the edge of the flying swords, repelled by the sword array's power. The boundless sword array. So it turns out you are Your Highness Yuan Xingliang of the Northern Zhou dynasty, huh? This fairy has heard of your tales, that you left all other star masters in the second-generation star duels in your dust. You contracted the Gongsun Sheng who is number one in magic energy. Furthermore, in the 7 Stars Assembly at the end, you cooperated with her to defeat the teamwork of all other star masters. This fairy has always wanted to pit herself against you. Today, this fairy finally fulfilled her wish. Satisfying, satisfying. Fairy Xuanla smiled. Her immemorial flying swords flew out. That sword was extremely peculiar. Its tip was white, like a young girl's snow-white skin. In the air, there was a mournful, seemingly crying, graceful tune. This song wound around, its reverberation lingering endlessly, forming a protective array that mysteriously deflected all killing intent. However, it appears that this fairy's Crown Prince Long Qin Heavenly Sound Sword 5 is superior to your boundless sword array. Yuan Xingliang waved the blue splendid 8 treasure sword, not holding back in his usage of the sword array. Wu Yu was blown away by the sword array. Rips already appeared in her clothing. The girl was somewhat irritated. Yuan Xingliang seized this chance to leap forth, to attack Fairy Xuanla. Then allow this fairy's sword array to bid you farewell. Fairy Xuanla said emotionlessly, as if she was mentioning something very mundane. Her white finger gently beckoned, and the snow-white flying swords gathered. Its tip glowed, becoming a fine white light, like the world's highest peak of whiteness, that fired. Song for dead shoots, imperial bird's mournful cry. 6. There was a sharp bird cry in his ear, incomparably grating. It drilled directly into Yuan Xingliang's mind to break his consciousness. The slim white light and green shoots slammed into each other. The blue splendid 8 treasure sword directly shrugged it off. Relying on his powerful willpower, Yuan Xingliang unexpectedly rushed through. Xuanla Feifei was amused at his perseverance. It seems your relationship with Gong Sun Xing was not bad? What a pity this fairy did not ask her true name. Die. Yuan Xingliang slashed. Xuanla Feifei's lips let out a fragrant scent. Although she was also supervoid middle stage, upon releasing her might, Yuan Xingliang thought that at such close range it would absolutely be impossible. Fairy Xuanla seized this to use the Crown Prince Long Qin Heavenly Sound Sword to repel him. Yuan Xingliang's expression changed. He noticed that he had already lost track of Fairy Xuanla's 2 star generals, and he was completely unable to sense them. I will definitely kill you. Yuan Xingliang's figure flashed. Star Master, don't be so naive. Just at this moment, a sneer already pierced through his back. The 2 shadows of Wu Yu and Hui Yu appeared, one pouncing in front and the other from behind Yuan Xingliang. Their assassination timing was the pinnacle of perfection, the teamwork between the sisters reaching absolute harmony, flawless. The 4 beautiful daggers of flowing color pierced through Yuan Xingliang's back and exited his chest. The daggers dripped with blood. Yuan Xingliang's movements completely stopped. Worthy of the 2nd Overlord Star Master. This fairy had originally thought that you could be instantly dispatched when you lacked a star general. This fairy never thought that you could surprisingly last this long, to force my 2 little sisters into working together. Fairy Xuanla clapped her hands in praise. Yuan Xingliang's consciousness was fading, and he was already without strength to retort. All right. Do not die for the moment yet. This fairy has remembered a question. Why did you fail your trial? Fairy Xuanla asked. Yuan Xingliang still managed a taunting smirk. His body disappeared. Forget it, this fairy had better go see for herself. Fairy Xuanla muttered. Comparing trials is far more interesting than facing an overlord, elder sister. Wu Yu and Hui Yu walked over, surrounding her as their figures dissolved into the air. Wu Yu, you nearly wanted to use your heaven rank just now. Fairy Xuanla shook her head. Wu Yu again recovered her insipid manner and flung her head to the side. Hui Yu, what about you? Is using 3rd watch to kill Gong Sun Xing very taxing? Hui Yu closed her eyes in satisfaction, answering this question. Fairy Xuanla's face wore a smile. Shall we go kill that Star Master now? I will definitely kill him. This time, elder sister need not interfere. Wu Yu leisurely said. Hui Yu lowered her head and softly mumbled, completely unconcerned. There are not even Star Masters with the trifling 3 heavenly books. There is no need to make a big fuss over something so insignificant. We just so happen to be able to reach the treasure banquet. Let us go properly relax for a bit. We still have a lot of time. Fairy Xuanla was not worried at all. In her eyes, to be able to easily dispatch the 2nd Overlord, an insignificant Star Master who could contract more than 10 Star Masters would amount to no better. Contracted 10 Star Generals? This fairy is itching to experience that. We obey elder sister for everything. Currently, Su Xing, Lin Yingmei, Wu Xinjie, and Gong Sun Huang were still in the Crystal Dragon Palace seeking useful materials. The Crystal Dragon Palace was worthy of being called Liangshan's first-rate banquet, for they had purchased many materials for star weapon advancement. All star masters have appeared in every treasure banquet. This is a golden opportunity for star weapon upgrades. With matters as they stand, most of those star maidens of Maiden Mountains 108 that are still alive will appear. This will also be considered a star general's banquet. Wu Xinjie explained. The Dragon Palace's sky suddenly released billowing black clouds, and everyone cried out in astonishment. Su Xing raised his head to look. A fragrant chariot upon a rolling black cloud descended from the sky. This chariot was considerably luxurious, following a giant scorpion and a black serpent towing the cart. The black clouds were pervasive, making people shudder with fear. Lady Snake Scorpion. Even since he escaped from Lady Snake Scorpion in Evil Smiting Hall, Su Xing had not seen her at all, but it appeared that Lady Snake Scorpion had done well since then. The Viper and Scorpion were the Xie twins star beasts. To surprisingly use them to draw a cart, they were not afraid of what other people thought. However, Lady Snake Scorpion's patron was the Vermilion Bird Territory's Great Sage Falling Sky, ruler of one of its territories. The Most High Path even had to consider him. To have such great fanfare in attending the treasure banquet, she indeed had capital. Lady Snake Scorpion's Falling Dragon Mountain is famed and outstanding in the Vermilion Bird Territory, and her lord husband is Great Sage Falling Sky. Perhaps among all the Star Masters, she is the one most able to receive support. That could be seen with the Rock Demon King being able to gift her the Purple Star Astral Treasure Star's Falling Dragon Sword. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth and chuckled. If it was not for young Lord, Lady Snake Scorpion could perhaps truly be able to take the Overlord position. Su Xing smiled. The Xie twins had perfect coordination, and this point basically made many Star Masters feel troubled. Now, with the Lady Snake Scorpion whose goo poison arts were brilliant acting as a Star Master with the Vermilion Bird Territory's Falling Dragon Mountain acting as support, her power advanced by leaps and bounds truly to become an overlord. Little Huang, you nearly fell to the Xie twins before. Next time, we'll have to properly greet them. Su Xing gazed at the far-off chariot. The little Huang who was currently licking a Tonghulu winked, not minding what happened before very much. Young master. Lining Mei suddenly spoke, using her hand to point in front of them. Su Xing looked to where she was pointing. In the tide of people, he spotted a 7- or 8-year-old boy and an 8- or 9-year-old girl. This pair was currently on a booth looking at the glittering lineup of goods, spellbound. For the first time since coming to the Crystal Dragon Palace, Su Xing showed delight. This boy and girl were not just anyone. They surprisingly were the pair he once met at the Divining Star platform. Savage Star Bao Xiaoyu and Hanyu. That meeting then gave Su Xing quite a fond impression of them, but the star duels were cruel, and he secretly prayed for them. Originally, he had thought that with the 3 heavenly books at hand, average Star Masters would mostly have already star-fallen. He never expected to see them at the treasure banquet. Little sister Xiaoyu truly is amazing. Wu Xinjie smiled. Lady Snake Scorpion sat inside the aromatic cart, her cheek propped against her hand as she looked out the window. The illumination of the boundless Crystal Dragon Palace's glorious blue light reflected against her enchanting pupils, adding a slight charm. Great Sage Falling Sky Rock Demon King sat beside her, gazing at the beauty before him with an aching heart. However, the goo poison arts that hindered even him with fear made him only able to admire her from afar. Is wife thinking of something? The Rock Demon King asked. The thick air made his voice full of comfort. Are you concerned about that purple thunder monster? The purple thunder monster's exploits were already known to everyone in Liangshan continent. His tale sounded truly beyond belief. This man had overturned the Azure Dragon territory, toppled the Black Turtle territory, and had also caused an enormous ruckus in the Vermilion Bird territory. The influence of the 3 territories had practically been violated, yet he nevertheless lived through everything. Not long before, They had even heard he had defeated the 10 great sects and opened the Bright Moon Longevity Palace. This was also the place of the Rock Demon King's concern. With this kind of purple thunder monster in existence, Lady Snake Scorpion star duels would be a path of danger. The more arrogant the purple thunder monster becomes, the faster he will die. Lady Snake Scorpion slightly smiled. Lord Husband has no need to worry about your servant. In the 7 Stars Assembly, he will definitely be faced with everyone's cooperation. This king shall then be relieved. The Rock Demon King replied. Your servant was only thinking about those 7 rainbow lights that flew out of Maiden Mountain several months ago. Who knows what the meaning of that was? Lady Snake Scorpion's brow was locked deep in thought. The sky-supporting pillar Maiden Mountain was visible everywhere in the 4 territories. That anomaly made everyone discuss it repeatedly. Most believed that a certain imprudent cultivator had disregarded Maiden Mountain and suffered its vengeance, just like that heavenly devil sect from so long ago, but who would have thought that those would represent 7 overlords? Maiden Mountain should not be meddling in the star duels? The Rock Demon King wrinkled his brow. Judging from right now, no. It is best if the purple thunder monster stirs up some bigger trouble. By the time the 10 great sects completely suffer, the Azure Dragon territory will already be the Vermilion Bird territories. The Rock Demon King sneered. With Emperor Liang present, the process perhaps will not be so easy. Lord Husband must be careful. Lady Snake Scorpion advised. It truly is strange that Emperor Liang has sons and a daughter participating in the star duels, but the great Liang imperial family has never set itself against the purple thunder monster. The Rock Demon King felt regretful. If the purple thunder monster offended the great Liang imperial family, then the Azure Dragon territory's collapse would only be a matter of time. Thinking of this, the Rock Demon King laughed. Maiden Mountain is truly astounding. However, one purple thunder monster contracting multiple star generals is unexpectedly capable of overturning the entire Azure Dragon territory. This king truly has a bit of the urge to ascend Maiden Mountain. Your servant will definitely forget Lord Husband after she ascends Maiden Mountain. Lady Snake Scorpion stuck to the Rock Demon King's shoulder, her expression seductive. This king definitely will allow wife to fulfill her wish. Xie Diao and Xie Chan are both already at 5-star for this treasure banquet. This king will use everything to upgrade their star weapons to 7-star. In the future, even if you meet the purple thunder monster, you will have no need to fear. The Rock Demon King heroically declared. Your servant is very grateful to Lord Husband. Mama, did we not hear that the Crystal Dragon Palace has the double 7? Does Mama want it? Xie Diao asked. The details of the double 7 really does not match with what the Crystal Dragon Palace announced. I fear there is something suspicious. We had best wait and see for the time being. Oh. Bao Xiaoyu impatiently looked at an exquisite protective talisman. Although that protective talisman was only a middle-grade talisman, the fact the protective amulet in pairs could make the two of them interlink their hearts while in a certain distance, which made Bao Xiaoyu very delighted. It was a pity that the treasure banquet's things honestly were too expensive. This exquisite protective talisman was priced at 5 million gold. As far as Han Yu was concerned, this truly was an astronomical figure. Xiaoyu, little Yu. A warm voice interjected. Bao Xiaoyu and Han Yu raised their heads to see an unfamiliar man. Bao Xiaoyu's whole body stretched taut. She glared at him, an appearance of deterrence by force. However, the combination of this fierce expression with a 7- or 8-year-old girl who had a certain innocent cuteness left him between laughter and tears. Don't you remember me? Su Xing smiled. Han Yu shook his head. Su Xing then noticed he was still using the change appearance pill. Little sister Xiaoyu, then what about us? Wu Xinjie walked over. Lin Yingmei raised her head, shifting her cap to the side. Ah, it's big brother Su Xing, big sister Yingmei, big sister Xinjie. Han Yu said in pleasant surprise. Even though Bao Xiaoyu let out the smallest sigh of relief, this little lowly still put on a tough appearance that would forgive no one. What is the matter, little sister Xiaoyu? Did you forget about us? Wu Xinjie pinched her cheeks. Bao Xiaoyu stubbornly puffed her cheeks. Her age was little, but her mind was awfully astute. The notion of a star master being the enemy was deeply ingrained. Are you still doubtful? Wu Xinjie could not help laughing. Big brother Su Xing, Xiaoyu is a bit alert. Han Yu awkwardly explained. It's fine. Su Xing spotted the exquisite protective talisman on the booth and bought some. Big brother presents these to you as a meeting gift. Thank you, big brother. Han Yu said in embarrassment. Little Yu. Bao Xiaoyu was worried about Han Yu lowering his guard so quickly. Little sister Xiaoyu, you relax too. Wu Xinjie allowed no explanation as she hugged the little lowly. Bao Xiaoyu was quickly smothered by Wu Xinjie's twin peak. In the end, she finally put away her belligerent appearance. Su Xing was very curious about Bao Xiaoyu's experiences after they parted, so he asked her about what happened afterwards. What happened afterwards was actually very simple. Bao Xiaoyu and Han Yu passed over land and water to finally reach the Han clan, where they settled. Han Yu's history and experience was very pitiful. His parents had died at the hands of bandits during a raid on their caravan, and Han Yu himself was on his dying breath. Then, Bao Xiaoyu appeared, destroyed those bandits and found he would not survive. Perhaps because she saw his age was close to her own, or perhaps Bao Xiaoyu had never thought of ascending Maiden Mountain in the first place, she signed a contract with Han Yu. The Han clan was quite excited that their clan had produced a star master for the first time. Naturally, they treated Han Yu quite well. As a matter of fact, when the treasure banquet began, Han Yu had followed his grandfather, uncle and other family to participate. Su Xing saw that Han Yu's cultivation was nevertheless very low, merely nebula middle stage. This kind of cultivation was death without doubt in the star duels. Do you want to come with me? Su Xing invited. No need. Bao Xiaoyu immediately refused. Little Yu will not participate in the star duels. She said while looking at Su Xing with full alertness. How is elder sister Little E? Lin Yingmei could not help but smile. This little sister still remembered that matter from when they first met. Perhaps because she did not see Yan Yizhen, she thought that Su Xing had acted maliciously against the skillful star. Little E is currently somewhere else. We will congregate come nightfall. Lin Yingmei said. Really? Bao Xiaoyu was still very skeptical. Little sister, you truly are a miniature demon. If young lord truly wanted to harm you, he would have already done it. Wu Xinjie said, her mood foul. Right, Xiaoyu, big brother Su Xing is very good. Han Yu promptly nodded. She is. Bao Xiaoyu spotted the Gong Sun Huang sitting on Su Xing's shoulder. Just as Su Xing was about to introduce her, a voice suddenly interrupted them. Little Yu, so here you are, we finally found you. Do not wander off. This place has many people. If you were to be eyed by a star master, what would we do? Several men and women walked over. It appeared Han Yu's grandfather and uncle were among them. They stared fixedly at Su Xing. However, Han Yu's relatives did not have any cultivation. Naturally, they could not discern that Su Xing was a supervoid cultivator. Still, they saw that Su Xing was young, quite attractive, and thus treated him merely as some family's young boss. Your distinguished self is? Your servant is Su Xing. Su Xing warmly introduced himself. Han Yu's uncle noticed Su Xing's humbleness and was even more convinced their guess was correct. He snorted, Su Xing, we have never heard of your name among the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great clans. Oh, actually, the Azure Dragon Territory has a remote Su Kingdom. However, the Su Kingdom actually has a princess that has fled. But it seems your distinguished self is completely unrelated to her. Su Xing was somewhat amused by his analysis. Your servant is indeed unrelated to the Su Kingdom. Your servant merely met Han Yu once before. He helped me and Little Yu before. The Bao Xiaoyu that was originally wary of Su Xing was somewhat displeased that the Han clan would put on airs before Su Xing, so you turned out to be the benefactor that saved my grandson's life. Sorry. Han Yu's grandfather laughed heartily. We are holding a feast at the Heavenly Water Pavilion. We wonder if this friend Su Xing would be willing to do us the honor of attending. A feast? Grandfather, did something good happen? Han Yu curiously said. Oh, Han Chi's spirit slashing sword has reached rank 98th on the spirit ceiling list. We were just preparing a feast to celebrate. Uncle is so amazing. Han Yu said in astonishment. We wonder if your distinguished self would attend, Su Xing? The other Han clan members gazed at Su Xing. Su Xing was a bit hesitant for a time. They are tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.